Chapter 77. Jiang Rui took Charlotte into the archive room. She turned on the computer in the archive room and entered the public office's network system. Soon, she found Huang Yihu's information. Charlotte saw the photo on the computer monitor, but he couldn't believe his eyes. Because the photo of Huang Yihu he saw was not the same person he saw in the fishing village villa last night, who was holding a woman and watching TV. Last night, the person lying in the room on the second floor of the fishing village villa was very similar to Huang Yihu in age, height, and appearance, but this kind of similarity could not deceive his eyes. Now it seemed that last night was really a trap. Charlotte secretly rejoiced that he finally restrained his desire for revenge and did not enter the villa. If he went in, his life would really be over. Huang Yihu was a legitimate businessman on the file. He had a lot of dazzling identities, such as the vice president of the Haizhou City Chamber of Commerce, the legal representative of the New Moon Real Estate Company, the legal representative of the Iron Horse Transportation Company, and so on. He had hundreds of millions of assets under his name. His assets were all legal assets. Jiang Rui said, "Lei, the person you want to investigate is very normal. Are you sure he is the big villain, He Laoqi?" Charlotte said, "You are the director of the police station. Haven't you heard of He Laoqi?" Jiang Rui shrugged and said, "Before Li Qinghua fell, I was a civilian police officer working in this archive room. How long have I been in office? In fact, there are a lot of things I don't know." Charlotte said, "Check He Laoqi again." Jiang Rui then checked He Laoqi in the system. But this time, there was no information about He Laoqi. Charlotte sneered and said, "He Laoqi is really a fictional character. Huang Yihu used He Laoqi's identity to make money in the underworld and then wash his name in the business world. On one side, he is an underworld hero, and on the other side, he is the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce. This guy is really a talent." Jiang Rui frowned. "It's useless even if you find these things. He's a legitimate businessman. If you touch him, you'll be breaking the law. Even if I don't arrest you, the police will." Charlotte said, "I won't do anything illegal." Only then did Jiang Rui relax a little. "I'm relieved that you can think that way. You should also be more open-minded. If this Huang Yihu breaks the law, then the law will definitely punish him. It's just a matter of time." "Well, I believe you." Although he said so, Charlotte didn't think so in his heart. According to the files, Huang Yihu had a net worth of hundreds of millions. For a gangster like him to get to where he was today, how could the sins he carried be small? However, he was still living a good life. He had wine, women, wealth, cars, and beauties. Even if an ordinary person worked hard for 10 lifetimes, they would not be able to live the life he had now. "What else do you want me to check for you?" Jiang Rui asked. "No need. Get out of the way. I'll take a look at his file," Charlotte said. Jiang Rui got up and got out of the way. Charlotte sat in front of the computer in the archive room and continued to look at Huang Yihu's file. If the police wanted to check a person's file, the system provided a comprehensive file provided by the government agencies that were connected to the national network. It wasn't as simple as a photo, birthplace, and date of birth. It included blood type, fingerprints, work, position, spouse and children, as well as assets under the name, etc. It was very detailed. Jiang Rui just looked at a part of it. Sitting in front of the computer, Charlotte slid the mouse, and the content on the monitor had new content. Spouse Li Yulan, born in 1980, director of the Haizhou City Chamber of Commerce. Son Huang Su, born in 2000, third-grade student of Haizhou 7th High School. Charlotte's eyes browsed through the contents of the archive room, and his heart also secretly said, "In the information provided by Qin Xiang, Han Li is He Laoqi's wife, and He Jiahao is He Laoqi's son. This is probably deliberately used by Huang Yihu to confuse people. People in the underworld have no lack of enemies. He made a fake wife and a fake son. If someone came to him for revenge, His enemies would not be able to use his fake wife and son to threaten him. He found a puppet that was very similar to him and kept it in his villa in the fishing village to oversee the underworld for him. All the illegal things he did were recorded on that puppet, and he himself was clean from the beginning. Huang Yihu, this guy is really more cunning than I thought. After reading Huang Yihu's file, Charlotte then looked at Li Yulan and Huang Su's files. Finally, he used Jiang Rui's authority to enter the Industrial and Commercial Bureau's system, and pulled up the files of assets under Huang Yihu's name. It was half an hour later when he finished reading the last file. "Do you want me to print a copy for you?" Jiang Rui said. Charlotte shook his head. "No, I just want to read it." In fact, his left eye had already recorded all the content, and there was no need to print it at all. "Take me back." Jiang Rui handed the car key to Charlotte. Charlotte was slightly stunned. "What are you doing?" "I said I would transfer the car to you." Jiang Rui said, "My car was damaged, what are you going to drive?" "You have a lot of things to do, you can drive it, I still have a bus to deal with." "I said I wanted your car, but I was actually joking with you. Just treat me to a meal." Charlotte took the car key. "When I get rich, I will buy you a good car." Jiang Rui giggled and said, "Buy me a car, do you want to keep me? I am the police chief, do you dare?" Back home, Charlotte couldn't sleep. His mind was full of Huang Yihu and Gu Qian's appearance. The next day, Lei Ma Studio did not open, so Charlotte took Zhou Xiaohong and others to see Ma Xiaoan off. At the crematorium, the moment Ma Xiaoan was sent to the incinerator, Charlotte couldn't help but burst into tears again. Back to Lei Ma Studio, without Ma Xiaoan's voice, the once lively studio seemed to suddenly become a lot more deserted. Zhou Xiaohong wiped Ma Xiaoan's desk with a rag. She cried as she wiped, "Brotherin, you always asked me to wipe your desk for you. Now that you're gone, I'll still wipe your desk for you every day." Everyone felt sad when they saw this scene. Charlotte said, "I will give you 3 days off, have a good rest, and then come back to work." The old master Yang Benkai said, "How can we do that? We have received some small orders. Although the orders are small, we can't lose our credibility. We are fine, we will start work today." Chen Ajiao said, "Yes, we will start work today. I think and will be happy to see us work here." Chui Yong also said, "Boss Lei, you are going to upgrade the studio to a company, you can go and do your work, we will finish these small orders. Brother and also wants to see your company established as soon as possible." Looking at the familiar and sad faces, Charlotte nodded with tears in his eyes. "Well, if you want to start work, then start work. I will set up our company as soon as possible, and we'll be happy in heaven." Chen Ajiao wiped her tears. Time to work, and don't be lazy." Charlotte also wiped the corner of his eyes and walked out of the studio. Chen Ajiao and others also started the machine and began to work. Ma Xiaoan had left, but the living people had to continue, and they had to do what they had to do. As soon as he got in the car, Charlotte received a call from Liang Xiao. "Mr. Xia? Didn't you say you were coming to the boxing club today? Why haven't you come yet?" It was Liang Xiao's voice. Charlotte put away his sad mood. "My friend passed away yesterday, I will send him away today. I really have no mood to come to the boxing club to learn boxing, another day. Sorry, I don't know, it's okay really." "Where are you now?" Liang Xiao said. "Well, I think you need someone to accompany you now, can I come to find you?" Xia Lei wanted to refuse, but he thought it would be inappropriate to directly refuse a girl who was so kind. He thought for a moment and said, "I'm going to Haizhu City's Industry and Commerce Bureau to register a company." "Are you going to register the company?" "Well, if you want to come, let's meet there," Charlotte said. "Well, okay, see you later." Liang Xiao hung up the phone. Charlotte drove to Haizhu City Industry and Commerce Bureau. There were many steps to register a company, from submitting the application materials to completing the registration, such as capital verification, seal engraving, tax application and so on, which needed to be done by Charlotte. It would take about 10 days to complete the whole process, during which time he had no time to go to the boxing club to learn boxing. If only I had a secretary who was familiar with these operations, she could handle these things for me. Well, I really have to find a secretary. After the establishment of Lima Manufacturing Company, I will be the boss of the company. If I don't even have a secretary, it will not look good. When he arrived at the Industry and Commerce Bureau, such a thought suddenly came to Charlotte's mind. Then, he suddenly thought of Ma Xiaoan. If Ma Xiaoan was still alive and he had to choose a secretary, he would definitely choose a woman with big breasts and a good figure, wouldn't he? Charlotte's heart was full of sadness. After entering the Industry and Commerce Bureau, Charlotte came to the information desk. After showing yesterday's application attachment and identity card, he said politely, "Have my application materials been approved? I want to move on to the next step as soon as possible." The staff at the window glanced at the attachment of Charlotte's application materials, then said, "Sorry, there is a problem with your application materials, it has not been approved." Charlotte was stunned for a moment. How could it not be approved? What's the problem with it? The staff behind the window said, "The Lima Manufacturing Company, that you applied for registration has already been applied. The same name, of course, it can't be approved." Someone applied? How is that possible? Charlotte's heart suddenly burst with anger. Are you kidding me? The staff behind the window said, "Sir, it's useless to be anxious. It has not been approved. Why don't you choose a new company name, and then submit the application again?" Change the company name? Charlotte was not willing at all, because the company name was the best way to commemorate Ma Xiao, and how could he be willing to change it? "You haven't answered my question, who applied for this company name?" Charlotte's eyes were aggressive. The staff's face was a bit ugly. "How would I know? Don't make trouble for me. If you have the ability, go to our director. Do you have any other questions? If there is no other question, please step aside, don't disturb the people behind." "Where is your director's office?" Charlotte restrained the anger in his heart. Indeed, it was useless to find an ordinary staff to make trouble. The staff said impatiently, "Our director's office is on the second floor, you can find it if you go up." Charlotte turned around and left the information window. "Mr. Xia." A woman's voice suddenly came. Charlotte looked in the direction of the voice and saw Yang Xiao at a glance. She was wearing a white shirt, light blue denim shorts, and a pair of proud long white legs. Her body revealed a tempting atmosphere of youth. Chapter 78. Liang Xiao really came, and in such a timely manner. Charlotte greeted her and said, "Hello, Miss Liang." Liang Xiao also greeted Charlotte and said, "I see you frowning. Are you in trouble?" Charlotte said, "I submitted an application yesterday and registered the company under the name Lima Manufacturing Company. There was no problem yesterday, but the people here just told me that someone had already registered under this name and asked me to change my name. The name of this company means a lot to me, and I don't want to change it." Liang Xiao thought for a moment and said, "Someone must be making things difficult for you. Even if you change your name, maybe they will still tell you that someone has already registered under this name." Charlotte suddenly thought of Gu Qian and Huang Yihu. Both of them had such an ability. "What are you going to do?" Liang Xiao asked. Charlotte said, "I want to talk to their director. I don't believe that they are so unreasonable." Liang Xiao said, "I studied business management in the United States. I have worked in several companies, and the one I did the most was as a secretary. I have some experience. Let me go with you. Maybe I can help you. You are really not simple. Well, let's go together." Charlotte needed an expert like her to help him. They went up to the second floor, and Charlotte saw the sign of the director's office at a glance. He and Liang Xiao walked over and saw that the door of the office was closed. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat, and his left eye twitched slightly. The door of the office seemed to be empty. There was a man and a woman in the office. They were talking in a low voice with a smile on their faces, and they seemed to be having a good time. Charlotte's left eye moved to the woman's face, and he suddenly understood who was behind this. The woman sitting opposite the man was none other than Huang Yihu's wife, Li Yulan, one of the directors of the Haizhu Chamber of Commerce. The man sitting in front of the desk was the director of the Industry and Commerce Bureau, Liao Disheng. His name tag is on the desk. Li Yulan was born in 1980. She was 35 years old, but she looked like she was in her early 30s. She was very young, and she was quite pretty and elegant. A woman who could catch Huang Yihu's eye would definitely not be bad. Liao Disheng was a very ordinary middle-aged man. He was clean-shaven and had a big belly. He looked a bit like an official. This kind of person looked fair and plump, very clean and easygoing, but actually had a belly full of fat and a head full of evil thoughts. Liang Xiao asked, "Why don't you knock on the door?" Charlotte said in a low voice, "Wait a minute." Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte curiously, but she didn't say anything or knock on the door. Charlotte's left eye locked on Liao Disheng and Li Yulan's lips, using their lips to interpret their conversation. "My husband invited Chief Liao to play golf this weekend. I don't know if Chief Liao is free?" Li Yulan smiled, very friendly and very charming. Liao Disheng laughed and said, "Oh, I just helped him a little, it's nothing. Why did he invite me to play golf?" "No need, no need." Li Yulan said, "Chief Liao, you're treating me like an outsider. You and my husband are very good friends. Even without Charlotte's matter, it's normal for him to invite you to play golf. Won't you do him the honor?" Liao Disheng laughed and said, "Don't say that. I'll go, okay? I'll give President Huang face no matter what." "Then it's settled," Li Yulan said with a smile. Liao Disheng said again, "Right, I heard that President Huang recently wanted to buy a piece of land next to the Third Ring Road. Is that true?" "Well, yes, it's true," Li Yulan said. "The location of that piece of land is very good. Within 2 kilometers, there are hospitals, schools, and a large shopping center. It's a good place to settle down and live. It's the most suitable place to build a building. Why, Chief Liao, you mention this. Do you have any connections?" Liao Disheng laughed and said, "I can't say that I have any connections, but I know a few people who can. If President Huang is willing, I can be a middleman." "That's good. Thank you in advance. You and my husband have a good talk this weekend. We'll talk about it here. I'll leave first." Li Yulan stood up. Liao Disheng also stood up. "Ms. Li, please tell President Huang that Charlotte, that kid, can forget about registering any company in Haizhu City. I can just find an excuse to keep his company in the application stage. He can dream about his company." Li Yulan just smiled and said, "Well, goodbye, Chief Liao. I'll walk you out." Liao Disheng went to open the door. At this moment, Charlotte withdrew his gaze and reached out to open the door. The moment they reached the door, Liao Disheng and Li Yulan stopped almost at the same time and looked at Charlotte and Liang Xiao in surprise. They didn't know Liang Xiao, but they had seen Charlotte's photo before, so they knew who the young man standing at the door was and could even guess why he was there. Liao Disheng quickly came back to his senses. He put on a straight face and said in an impolite voice, "Who are you? Why didn't you knock when you came in? What's the matter with you?" Charlotte smiled and said, "Sorry, I didn't pay attention and accidentally opened the door." "You have no manners," Liao Disheng muttered. He spoke in a low voice, but Charlotte and Liang Xiao could still hear him clearly. He didn't seem to be worried that Charlotte and Liang Xiao would hear him, and he even did it on purpose. Liao Disheng said to Li Yulan, "Ms. Li, let me walk you out." Li Yulan said, "No, I'm not in a hurry. I still want to talk to you, but you can talk to this gentleman first. I'll wait for you." Liao Disheng glanced at Li Yulan and looked a little puzzled, but he quickly understood Li Yulan's thoughts and said, "Okay, then you wait." Then he looked at Charlotte and asked, "What's the matter?" Liao Desheng was acting, and Li Qinghua was watching the show. While watching the show, she also wanted to understand her husband's opponent. This was the cleverness of this woman. Charlotte went straight to the point and said, "Director Liao, I'm here to ask you what's going on. I submitted the application for company registration yesterday, and your subordinates also used the computer to search for the name Lima Manufacturing Company that I applied for. There was no duplicate name, and I submitted the application smoothly. But when I came to ask today, your subordinates told me that the name had been registered and rejected my application. So I want to ask you, what's the reason?" Liao Desheng snorted coldly with a contemptuous smile on the corner of his mouth. "I thought it was a big deal, but it turned out to be such a trivial matter. The company name you applied for has been registered, so you can choose a new name and submit the application again. Go, if you have any more questions you can go to the information desk. I'm very busy and have no time to talk to you." Charlotte's face also became gloomy, as if he was going to lose his temper at any time. Li Yulan stood at the side and watched quietly, a hint of a gloating smile on her lips. At this time, Liang Xiao interrupted and said, "As a civil servant who serves the people, Director, don't you think your attitude is a bit inappropriate?" Liao Desheng stared at Liang Xiao and said, "Who are you? How can you speak? Do I need you to tell me what my attitude is? If you're not satisfied, there's a complaint box in the hall below. You can go and complain to me." Liang Xiao said angrily, "It's because it's useless to complain that there's such a person sitting in this position and acting like a tyrant. Get out." Liao Desheng was angry. He pointed at the door of the office and shouted. Liang Xiao was also angry. "Why do you want me to go out? This is a place for the people to use, not just for you. You can call the police to arrest me. Go." Liao Desheng was so angry that he laughed. "I think you're here to cause trouble and obstruct public service. Very well, I'll call the police to arrest you now. You'd better be prepared to stay in the detention center for half a month. There's no room for negotiation." Liang Xiao was a little scared. Charlotte said, "Let me talk to him." He said to Liao Desheng, "Director Liao, you don't have to use the police to scare me. My friend just quarreled with you. You don't have to arrest him for half a month, do you? I don't want to waste your time. I just want to ask, the Lima Manufacturing Company that I applied for can't be approved, right?" Liao Desheng said, "It definitely can't be approved." Charlotte said, "If I change the name of another company, you'll use the same reason to reject it, right?" Liao Desheng laughed. "What's wrong with you, young man? You can reapply. If there's no one with the same name, of course we'll approve it. But if you like to use the name of someone else's company, I can't do anything about it." Charlotte said, "It seems that you really don't want me to open a company." Both Liao Desheng and Li Qinghua had a gloating smile on their faces. Charlotte took out his mobile phone, opened the contact page, and dialed a number. Then he said to the phone, "Is this Mr. Zhou? I'm Charlotte. I'm in a bit of trouble. Can you come and help me?" "Mr. Xia, what trouble are you in?" Zhou Wei's voice came from the phone. Charlotte said, "I'm in the Industry and Commerce Bureau of Haizhou City. I registered a company. A director deliberately made things difficult for me, otherwise I would have approved it. I tried my best to reason with him, but he just didn't listen to me. What do you think I should do? I have no choice." "There's actually such a bastard? Wait for me, we'll be right there." Zhou Wei hung up the phone angrily. Xia Lei put away his phone and looked at Liao Desheng calmly. The corners of his mouth curled up into a gloating smile. Liao Desheng was calm at first, but when he saw Charlotte's gloating smile at him, he felt a bit guilty. He tentatively asked, "Who did you call just now?" "A friend," Charlotte said lightly. "What friend?" Liao Desheng asked again. Charlotte said snappily, "Why do you care so much?" Liao Desheng was so angry that he glared at him. Li Yulan said with a smile, Chief Liao, young people nowadays are hot-tempered and love to brag. You're an adult, so let him have his way. This is interesting. I also want to see what kind of friend this young man has invited to help. Liao Disheng seemed to get some assurance after hearing Li Yulan's words. He became bolder and sneered. Well, I also want to see what kind of friend this kid has invited to help. Why don't you think I'll let your application that doesn't meet the regulations pass if you invite your friend? You're daydreaming. Charlotte didn't even want to talk to Liao Disheng. He said to Liang Xiao, Miss Liang, let's sit and wait. Liang Xiao was actually very curious about what kind of friend Charlotte had invited to help him. He looked so confident. She responded softly and then sat on a sofa in the office with Charlotte. The atmosphere in the office suddenly became silent. Chapter 79. More than 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. Liao Disheng looked at his watch and sneered. Kid, where is your friend? Where is he? Li Yulan chimed in. Chief Liao, young people nowadays are like this. Sometimes they don't put the older people in their eyes. After all, they still lack the tempering of life and society. It's good for them to suffer some losses. This will help them understand the world and know that there are some people they can't afford to offend. They will also become mature. This sentence was obviously aimed at Charlotte. She was hinting that there were some people that Charlotte couldn't afford to offend. Liang Xiao was actually a little worried. She even suspected that Charlotte was just talking big, and it was a trick to force Liao Disheng to pass the application. However, she didn't say it out loud. After all, she was not familiar with Charlotte. She knew too little about Charlotte. Charlotte was very calm. He wasn't worried that Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian from Shenzhou Industry Group wouldn't come to the Bureau of Industry and Commerce to help. He also wasn't worried that Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian, who represented Shenzhou Industry Group, couldn't help him. What was the identity of Shenzhou Industry Group? It was a company that made fighter jets and tanks for the country. It was the foundation of the country. He had a very special value to Shenzhou Industry Group. How could Shenzhou Industry Group just stand by when he encountered a little trouble? What was the difference between solving this problem and killing a fly with a mosquito killer for Shenzhou Industry Group? In the environment where Europe and the United States imposed a strict technical blockade on China, Charlotte was the only person in China who could process the key parts that needed to be imported from Europe and the United States by hand. Just because of this, Charlotte wasn't worried at all that he couldn't do it. Kid, why don't you make another call to urge them? You have time, but I don't. My time is very precious, Liao Disheng said sarcastically. As soon as his voice fell, Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian appeared at the door of the office. Liao Disheng saw Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian and suddenly became cautious. Li Yulan also looked at Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian, guessing their identity. However, Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian were both new faces to her. She had never seen them before, so she couldn't guess that they were from Shenzhou Industrial Group. Charlotte stood up from the sofa and greeted them, saying, Mr. Zhou, Mr. Jiang, it's a good thing you're here. Director Liao Disheng just laughed at me, saying that I invited some shady friends to help me, and no matter who interceded, he wouldn't let me register the company. Liao Disheng felt a little guilty. He stood up and asked tentatively, You too are? Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian just glanced at him, not even bothering to greet Liao Disheng. Zhou Wei said, Mr. Xia, is he the director who made things difficult for you? He pointed to Liao Disheng. Charlotte smiled and nodded. That's him. Jiang Xian said angrily. How can a small bureau chief be so capable? He even dares to do such a thing? He looked at Liao Disheng. Do you still have eyes for the law? Liao Disheng stared blankly for a moment, then got angry. Who are you? How come I don't have eyes for the law? If you don't tell me who you are, I'll ask the security guards to escort you out. Do you want to know who we are? Zhou Wei said. Liao Desheng didn't say yes or no, but he glanced at Li Yulan. Li Yulan said with a smile, "Gentlemen, let's talk nicely. Director Liao is a decent person. He can't talk to you like this. As an outsider, I can't stand it. Are you here to help this little brother solve his problem, or are you looking for trouble?" Zhou Wei said, "Well, I'll introduce myself. My name is Zhou Wei, and I'm the director of the purchasing department of Shenzhou Industry Group." Then he pointed to Jiang Xian and said, "This is Jiang Xian. He's the director of the personnel department of Shenzhou Industry Group." Liao Desheng's face turned pale as soon as he heard his introduction. He was in the industry and commerce, so how could he not know the truth of Shenzhou Industry Group? Not only did he know what Shenzhou Industry Group produced, but he also knew the status of the company in China. In fact, he also knew that the directors of the company were all senior officers with military positions. Shenzhou Industry Group? Li Yulan didn't know what kind of company Shenzhou Industry Group was. She said, "Is Shenzhou Industry Group also in charge of the approval of the registration of companies by the Industry and Commerce Bureau?" Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian's eyes moved to Li Yulan, and their faces were unfriendly. Liao Desheng hurriedly said, "Ms. Li, well, you go first. We'll talk about it another day." Then he gave Li Yulan a wink. Li Yulan didn't want to leave, but she noticed Liao Desheng's wink. Her heart skipped a beat and she secretly said, "Do these two people have a big background?" "Who is she?" Zhou Wei asked Charlotte. Charlotte said, "Li Yulan, a member of the Chamber of Commerce. She and her husband are influential figures in Haizhou City. My application couldn't be approved because I once offended her husband, Huang Yihu. There was no problem with my application, but when Ms. Li came, my application was rejected." "You?" Li Yulan was very surprised because she thought that Charlotte didn't know her, let alone her husband, Huang Yihu. However, from Charlotte's words, she realized that Charlotte knew far more than that. Li Yulan's eyes suddenly became cold. How could there be such a thing? Jiang Xian took out his mobile phone and said, "I'll call my leader now and ask him to help you solve this problem." No. Liao Desheng suddenly panicked. He hurriedly held Jiang Xian's hand and said with a smile, "Mr. Jiang, this is a misunderstanding. Why do you need to ask your leader? It must be a colleague who made a mistake. I'll tell them now and ask them to review it again." Jiang Xian and Zhou Wei's identity had already made Liao Desheng afraid. If they wanted to ask for a higher leader, it would be terrible. Jiang Xian put down his mobile phone and stopped making the call. He came to help Charlotte solve the problem. If Liao Desheng was willing to solve the problem, he didn't need to ask anyone to help. After all, he and Zhou Wei were not from Haizhou City, so it was not convenient for them to do it. Zhou Wei said, "Then we'll do it in a special way. Just go through all the procedures at once." Liao Desheng actually only wanted to repeat the trial and delay time. He also wanted to confirm whether Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian's identities were real or not, but he didn't expect that Jiang Xian and Zhou Wei would ask for an exorbitant price. They wanted to go through all the procedures at once. He could open the door and let Charlotte go through all the procedures at once, but in that case, he couldn't explain it to Huang Yihu and Li Yulan. The sly Liao Desheng glanced at Li Yulan, as if he wanted some instructions from her. Li Yulan said indifferently, "You two sure talk big. I wonder what's your relationship with Mr. Xiaolei?" "Do I need to tell you?" Jiang Xian said. "If you want Director Liao to do it in a special way, you should at least prove the authenticity of your identity, right? Nowadays, there are many liars with good acting skills. Maybe you are extras hired by Charlotte." Li Yulan emphasized in a strange tone. This was also her instruction to Liao Desheng. If he didn't figure out the real identity and strength of these two people, there was no way Charlotte could do it. Charlotte didn't say anything and just watched quietly. He also wanted to figure out one thing, that was, how much value he had to Shenzhou Industrial Group. and this was very important for what he wanted to do next. Jiang Xian and Zhou Wei glanced at each other. The two of them reached an agreement through their eyes. Both of them took out their IDs. However, they only took out ordinary IDs and their work certificates at Shenzhou Industry Group. They didn't take out their military officer IDs. Zhou Wei put the IDs on Liao Desheng's desk and said, "These are our IDs. Have a look." Liao Desheng looked at Zhou Wei's IDs and then looked at Jiang Xian's. The IDs were all real. He also knew the reason why the other party didn't take out their military officer IDs, because his rank was too low. Looking at the IDs, Liao Desheng laughed and said, "Haha, don't misunderstand, I will immediately." Li Yulan coughed. "Can you do it with just 2 IDs? How big are these IDs? What if they are fake?" Liao Desheng immediately retracted his smile. His forehead was also covered with fine beads of sweat. He was very clear about Li Yulan's intention. She didn't want to let Charlotte achieve his wish of registering the company. However, the 2 big shots from Shenzhou Industry Group in front of him were not easy to deal with. He was stuck in the middle. Both sides were not human. Charlotte was still calm. This was his business, but at this moment, he was like a bystander watching the fun. His current temperament was becoming more and more stable and calm. In the eyes of Jiang Xian and Zhou Wei, Charlotte's silence and calmness were interpreted in another way. Of the 2 of them, one was in charge of purchasing, and the other was in charge of human resources. How could their ability to read people's expressions be weak? With Charlotte's indifferent attitude, how could they not see through Charlotte's thoughts? Jiang Xian and Zhou Wei looked at each other, and then Jiang Xian sneered. "Director Liao, I don't think you can make the decision here. You actually want to do things according to this woman's wishes, right?" Liao Desheng smiled. "Mr. Jiang, what are you saying?" He glanced at Li Yulan from the corner of his eye. Li Yulan didn't say anything. Charlotte was calm, but she was even calmer than Charlotte. She also had her backer, and that was the Gu family. In this matter, it was still Liao Desheng who was in a difficult position. Even if these 2 people had a powerful background, they couldn't do anything to Li Yulan. "Old Zhou, give the leader a call." Jiang Xian put away the documents on the desk. It wasn't just his, but also Zhou Wei's. Zhou Wei took his phone and went out the door. Liao Desheng wanted to stop Zhou Wei, but he shut his mouth after being glared at by Li Yulan. Liang Xiao quietly tugged at Charlotte's sleeve and whispered into his ear, "Mr. Xia, why aren't you saying anything? Can these 2 people help you?" A smile appeared on the corner of Charlotte's mouth as he whispered to her, "If they can't help me, then no one can help me. I didn't say anything. I just wanted to see how willing they were to help me." Liang Xiao was confused. Chapter 80. Zhou Wei returned to his office with his phone in his hand. Li Yulan laughed. "Are you done?" "There's no response. Maybe your company is too far away and your leader doesn't have much influence here?" Zhou Wei looked at Li Yulan and sneered. "Your name is Li Yulan, right? I'll remember your name." Li Yulan gently shrugged. "So what if you remember it? Just you wait," Zhou Wei said. At this moment, the phone on the table suddenly rang. Liao Desheng was about to answer the phone when Zhou Wei stepped forward and pressed the speaker button. A man's voice suddenly came from the phone. "Liao Desheng, do you have a young man named Charlotte there from time to time?" Hearing this man's voice, cold sweat appeared on Liao Desheng's forehead again. He nervously said, "Mayor, yes, Charlotte is indeed here." Li Yulan's expression suddenly changed. "Did Charlotte register Lima Manufacturing Company with the Industrial and Commercial Bureau?" Mayor Hu's voice. "Yes, yes." The cold sweat on Liao Desheng's forehead became denser. "Are you making things difficult for him and not letting him pass?" You bastard. I'll give you half an hour to pass the review immediately. Special cases are special. Give the company's license to Charlotte." Okay, I'll do it right away. Come to my office after you're done. I want to talk to you. Then, Mayor Hu hung up the phone. Liao Desheng wiped his cold sweat and then said to Charlotte, Mr. Xia, wait a moment. I'll do it right away. It won't take half an hour. It won't take half an hour. Charlotte didn't say anything and just looked at him. Judging from Mayor Hu's tone just now, Liao Desheng's career had probably come to an end. Liao Desheng strode out of the office. This was the place where he gave orders, but now it had become the last place he wanted to be. Li Yulan carried her bag and walked out. Charlotte blocked in front of her and said coldly, Wait. Li Yulan took a step back and asked nervously, What do you want? Xiaolei said, Bring a message to your husband. Your husband has disguised himself very well, but I will still catch him by the tail. I won't let my friend's death go just like that. I'll find him and settle the score with you. I don't know what you're talking about. For some unknown reason, Li Yulan felt a tinge of fear in her heart when she faced Xiaolei. Get lost, Charlotte cursed and stepped aside. Li Yulan's face turned green with anger. She glared at Charlotte and walked out of the office with her bag. She was instructed by Huang Yihu to create obstacles for Charlotte and suppress Charlotte. In her opinion, this was just a trivial matter. She didn't expect that Charlotte could make a comeback under such circumstances. Not only did he make a comeback, but he also slapped her and Huang Yihu in the face. Charlotte looked at Zhou Wei and Liao Desheng and said with a smile, Thank you so much. Without your help, my company's license would not have been issued. Zhou Wei said, Mr. Xia, you're welcome. It's our honor to help you. Jiang Xian smiled and said, Mr. Xia, you are a very important partner of our company. You are also a special talent of our country. Your request is legitimate, so Liao Desheng has no reason to set obstacles for you. Charlotte said, You're too polite. Thank you very much. But after I get the company's license, I want to ask you two for a favor. Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian glanced at each other, exchanging glances. Jiang Xian said, Mr. Xia, what do you want us to do for you? Just tell me. Charlotte said, After I get the company's manufacturing license, I want to build a factory. I like a piece of land next to the third ring road. It's number 13. I want to ask you to help me get that land. This. Zhou Wei and Jiang Xian looked embarrassed and their eyes were full of embarrassment. Charlotte said, I only have one request. I won't bother you and your company anymore. If you help me, I'll process any parts you want me to process in the future. Zhou Wei said with a wry smile, Mr. Xia, it's not a problem to help you get the company's license, but to help you get a piece of land. This, Jiang Xian also said, Yes, our company is in the capital, and our influence here is too small. We can help with ordinary things, but if you want us to help you get a piece of land here, we really don't have the ability. Charlotte said, You're too modest. I know how capable you are. You must help me with this. Zhou Wei tentatively said, Well, Mr. Xia, what if we can't help you with this? Charlotte said, I will help you process this batch of parts, but after this order, I won't take any orders from your company. Mr. Xia, you. Zhou Wei looked very anxious, You're like a child. Jiang Xian also said, Yes, Mr. Xia, how can you be as impulsive as if you're still there? The price we gave you is already the highest price. You're doing business, how can you refuse our order? Charlotte said, You said I'm like a child, and I'm really like a child. If I don't fight back when others hit me, I won't be in the mood to go to school or do my homework. You saw it just now. It was Li Yulan and her husband, Huang Yihu, who bullied me. Do you think she and her husband are just targeting me? You're wrong. She and her husband murdered my friend. This. Jiang Xian looked bitter. Mr. Xia, we're a company, not the police. What you said is beyond our ability. This favor is really, Charlotte interrupted him and said slowly, Originally, I wanted to find a chance to go abroad to the United States or Germany to see their most advanced machine tools, and then upgrade my company's machine tools to the same level as those in Europe and America. Now it seems that it's not necessary. Wait, Zhou Wei said excitedly, what did you just say? You can upgrade ordinary machine tools to the same level as those in Europe and America? Charlotte said, what's so difficult about that? As long as I see the drawings and the real thing, I can upgrade my machine tools. At that time, I can process as many parts as you need. Can you really do it? Jiang Xian also looked very excited. Charlotte spread out his palm. If I didn't have that ability, would you come to me? Would you help me get the company's license? Then, Jiang Xian said, we'll immediately arrange for you to go abroad. You can choose from Germany or America. We have channels to let you see the drawings and the real thing you need. When you go back and upgrade a machine tool, we'll take that land for you. Charlotte shook his head. First get the land, then go abroad. Mr. Xia, how can we help you like this? Zhou Wei said. First get the land, then go abroad. Charlotte repeated. Jiang Xian said with a bitter smile, Mr. Xia, you're really a child. Well, this is not something Zhou Wei and I can decide. We'll fly back to the capital now. We need to talk to our leader, and then the leader will make the decision. Once there's news, we'll contact you immediately. Charlotte's mouth showed a trace of a smile. Thank you, I'll wait for your good news. Well, let's not delay. We'll go to the airport now. Goodbye, Mr. Xia. Mr. Xia. Zhou Wei shook hands with Xia Lei. Jiang Xian also shook hands with Charlotte. Mr. Xia, remember your promise, upgrade your machine tool to the world's most advanced level. Charlotte said, I promise you, as long as you help me, you'll see that kind of machine tool. Jiang Xian and Zhou Wei hurriedly left. For Shenzhou Industry Group, Charlotte's ability to process ultra-precision machining parts that could only be processed in Europe and America was not the biggest temptation, because they could also get the parts they needed from other sources, such as Israel. However, if Charlotte could upgrade ordinary machine tools to the world's most advanced machine tools, then this temptation was irresistible to Shenzhou Industry Group. The reason why Charlotte dared to ask for such a big price was also because he had a bargaining chip that Shenzhou Industry Group could not resist. Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte with a strange look. Mr. Xia, how can you be so sure that they will meet your requirements? Charlotte smiled. You study business, you must know the meaning of the idiom, rare goods can be hoarded. What they want can only be bought from me, and what I want, they have to give me. Liang Xiao said, of course I understand the meaning of rare goods can be hoarded, but it's a piece of land. Even if they can help you win the bid, do you have so much money? The land on the third ring road of Zhuhai City was often tens of millions of yuan, and it was not uncommon for a good port to even reach hundreds of millions of yuan. She knew that Charlotte was just a studio, and even the company was still in the application stage. How could he have so much money to buy land? Charlotte smiled and said, Miss Liang, Shenzhou Industry Group is a large national enterprise. This enterprise belongs to the country, and it is very important to the country. It's very easy for Shenzhou Industry Group to win a piece of land. I really don't have money, but even if the land is worth 50 million yuan, I will only give 1 or 2 million yuan. Ah! Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte dumbfounded. Aren't you shameless, aren't you? Charlotte said, I'm shameless. Didn't they say that I'm like a child? Isn't it reasonable for a child like me to do so? Liang Xiao gave Charlotte a thumbs up and giggled. Mr. Xia, I study business, but today I find that I'm like a primary school student in front of you. You're a business student. Xia Lei said, Don't praise me. I was forced to do this. I want to seek justice for my friend. If I take the normal way, I won't be able to achieve my wish even if I have 50 years. Well, let's go down and see how it's going, and then let's see the land. Liang Xiao said, Well, I also want to see that land. After leaving Liao Dishing's office, before they reached the hall, Liao Dishing came over with a stack of documents. Mr. Xia, it's done. Liao Dishing had a flattering smile on his face. Let's go to the office and talk. I'll make you a cup of tea. Charlotte took the stack of documents from Liao Dishing's hand, glanced at it, and then said lightly, Director Liao, your tea is too good. I'm not used to it. You'd better invite distinguished people like Huang Yihu and Li Yulan to drink it. Mr. Xia. Liao Dishing looked pitiful. Can you put in a good word for me in front of your two friends? You see, I've done what you want to do. Charlotte said, No, I'm not very familiar with them. You. Liao Dishing was suddenly angry on the spot. Chapter 81. The land next to the third ring road was not big, only 20 acres of land. The government's price was 6,000 yuan per square meter, so it would cost at least 80 million yuan to buy this land. This was without bidding. If the government held an open bidding and developers participated in the bidding, then the transaction price of this land might double or even exceed 200 million yuan. After all, its port was really good, and no developer would not be tempted. After looking at the land, Liang Xiao's expression was very strange. It's really a waste to use such a good piece of land to build a factory. If it were me, I would use it to build a building. The location here is very good, and there are schools and hospitals around it. It can be sold for 10,000 yuan per square meter casually. Building an apartment with elevators, wow, it's rich all at once. Charlotte said with a smile, Huang Yihu wants this land to build a building. You have the same idea as him, but he wants to use it to build a building, and I want to use it to build a factory. Aren't you going to piss him off? Liang Xiao said. Charlotte said, It would be good if I could piss him off, but people like him won't die easily. Good people don't live long, bad people live for thousands of years. He thought of Ma Xiaoan again. Liang Xiao comforted him, Don't be sad. I'm worried that this land is so valuable that there must be a lot of developers who are interested in it. Can your two friends really get this land for you? Moreover, you have no money. Charlotte smiled and said, I'm not worried at all. Let's go, Miss Liang. Let's find a place to have a drink and celebrate the establishment of my company. Okay, but don't call me Miss Liang in the future. Liang Xiao said with a smile, You can call me Xiao. Charlotte said, Okay, then don't call me Mr. Xia. You can call me Lei. Lei. Liang Xiao and Charlotte looked at each other and smiled. They left the open space and walked to the Great Wall H6 parked on the side of the road. Just then, 3 cars stopped on the side of the road. The first car was a black Maybach commercial sedan, followed by a Mercedes-Benz S600 and a BMW 730i. These 3 cars were not luxury cars that ordinary people could afford to drive. The door of the Maybach opened, and a young man in a black suit came down from the passenger seat and opened the rear door. A middle-aged man got out of the car. He was dressed very casually, but he gave off a very classy feeling. Charlotte's gaze fell on the middle-aged man and suddenly stopped moving. The person who got out of the Maybach was Huang Yihu. Charlotte had seen Huang Yihu's photo last night, so he recognized him immediately. There were also people getting out of the other 2 cars. Each car had a main character and a follower. The boss, the bodyguard, and the driver were easy to distinguish. Just then, a woman got out of the Maybach. It was Li Yulan, who had left the Trade and Industry Bureau earlier. Huang Yihu and Li Yulan hadn't found Charlotte and Liang Xiao yet. The couple led the other 3 bosses to the number 13 land through a small path, talking as they walked. Mr. Wang, after we get this land, I will hand the project over to your Lingyun Construction Company, Huang Yihu said to one of the bosses. The boss said, Thank you very much. It's not the first time that our Lingyun Construction Company has cooperated with you, Mr. Huang. No problem. Li Yulan said to another boss, Mr. Zhou, we will contract all the construction materials, gravel, and steel bars to your construction company. The boss called Mr. Zhou smiled and said, That's no problem. It's not the first time that we've cooperated. Old rules, old rules. At this time, Huang Yihu stopped and said with a smile, Since Mr. Zhou said the old rules, let's do it according to the old rules. Let's make a lot of money together. The boss called Mr. Zhou said, Boss Huang, we definitely have no problem here. It's just that there are many people who want this land. It's not that I don't want to be rude, but what if you can't get this land? Huang Yihu said, Can't get it? There's no land in Haizhu that I, Huang Yihu, can't get. Not only will I get it, but I will also get it at the lowest price. Other developers won't bid? The boss called Mr. Wang looked surprised. Huang Yihu sneered, Bid? I'll visit them one by one. I'd like to see who dares to compete with me, Huang Yihu. The bosses, who were addressed as Director Zhou and Director Huang, looked at each other and laughed. Indeed, in Haizhu, who dared to compete with Huang Yihu for land? Liang Xiao saw Li Yulan and said, Lei, should we avoid these people? Charlotte said, Why should we avoid them? This is not their place. All right. Liang Xiao was also a woman who was not afraid of trouble. She looked at Huang Yihu next to Li Yulan and said, Lei, is the man next to that woman the Huang Yihu you mentioned? Charlotte nodded and said, It's Huang Yihu. He snorted and said, Didn't you hear their conversation? Huang Yihu has already regarded this land as his. Huang Yihu had obviously regarded this land as his since he had brought people from the construction company and the building materials company to see the land and talk about business. Liang Xiao said, He has triangular eyes and fierce eyebrows. Huang Yihu doesn't look like a good person. At this time, Huang Yihu's bodyguard saw Charlotte and Liang Xiao. He followed them and said sternly, What are you doing? This is a construction site. Who allowed you to come in? Huang Yihu, Li Yulan, and the others also looked at Charlotte and Liang Xiao. In that instant, the expressions of the husband and wife immediately changed, becoming extremely unsightly, carrying clear hatred. Although it was the first time Huang Yihu had seen Charlotte, he knew what Charlotte looked like, where he lived, and what he had done. He even knew what had happened in the Industry and Commerce Bureau 2 hours ago, which was equivalent to Charlotte slapping him in the face. At this moment, when he saw Charlotte, the hatred and hostility in his heart showed on his face. His eyes seemed to want to drink Charlotte's blood and eat Charlotte's flesh. I'm talking to you. Are you all deaf? Huang Yihu's bodyguard was very grumpy. Charlotte said, I didn't talk because I didn't want to talk to you. You're not blind. Can't you see it? You motherf asterisk cur. Huang Yihu's bodyguard suddenly became angry and strode over. Charlotte didn't even move. He just quietly looked at Huang Yihu's bodyguard. A sneer appeared at the corner of Huang Yihu's mouth. He was very clear about the strength of his bodyguard. It was not comparable to the street gangsters called by Chen Chuanhu. He thought that his bodyguard could deal with Charlotte and the woman next to Charlotte in a few seconds. After that, he would step on Charlotte's face, unzip his zipper, and pee on Charlotte's head. You idiot! Huang Yihu's bodyguard waved his fist at Charlotte's head as soon as he came up. Charlotte's right elbow cut inward from the outside and blocked the bodyguard's right elbow. He blocked the bodyguard's fist, and then his right hand moved forward. A short bridge jab hit the bodyguard's heart. Bang! With a muffled sound, the bodyguard groaned and his face turned pale. His body fell back, but before he fell to the ground, Charlotte's body suddenly stuck to him. Charlotte's fists hit him continuously. In the blink of an eye, he had punched his lower abdomen no less than 10 times. Puff! The bodyguard's mouth spat out a mouthful of blood, and he fell to the ground with his head up. He struggled to get up, but he just propped up less than 10 centimeters high, and then he fell down softly. From the time Huang Yihu's bodyguard attacked to the time he fell to the ground, The whole process only took 5 seconds. In such a short time, a normal person could only blink a few times. But in such a short time, a professional bodyguard was knocked down. Everyone's eyes were focused on Charlotte. Some were shocked and some were afraid. The only one who was normal was Liang Xiao, because she was very clear about Charlotte's strength. Even Lu Xing, who was like an Iron Man, couldn't beat Charlotte, let alone this bodyguard. Bah! Xia Lei spat a mouthful of saliva on Huang Yihu's bodyguard's face and pretended to be a hooligan. He cursed, "Motherf asterisk cur, I couldn't find a place to vent my anger today, and you provoked me. Do you think I'm afraid of you because you have a stupid boss? Let me tell you, even if your boss is here, if he dares to talk nonsense, I will still beat him up." These words were obviously directed at Huang Yihu. It couldn't be more obvious. The two bosses who came with them looked at Huang Yihu with strange eyes. They didn't say anything, but their eyes seemed to be saying to Huang Yihu, "Aren't you the boss of the underworld? Can you bear being insulted like this?" Huang Yihu's face was already the color of pig liver. He regretted only bringing one bodyguard this time. Charlotte insulted him and provoked him at this moment, but he couldn't beat Charlotte. Although the two bosses who came with them also brought bodyguards, the skills that Charlotte showed just now had shocked them. Not to mention that without their respective bosses' orders, even if their bosses ordered them, they wouldn't dare to challenge Charlotte. The atmosphere became dull and tense. Huang Yihu reached out to touch his waist. Charlotte's eyes fell on Huang Yihu's waist. His left eye twitched slightly, and then he saw a black pistol. His heart suddenly became nervous, and his brain was also quickly thinking of countermeasures. His eyes moved to Li Yulan, and he was ready to rush up the moment Huang Yihu pulled out the gun, push Li Yulan towards Huang Yihu, and then take the opportunity to shoot away Huang Yihu's pistol. This was very risky, but it was the best way. At this critical moment, Li Yulan suddenly grabbed Huang Yihu's hand, and she whispered something in Huang Yihu's ear. Charlotte's eyes locked on Li Yulan's lips, and he used his lips to interpret Li Yulan's words. "Ahu! This kid is deliberately provoking you. He has someone protecting him. Even if you pull out the gun and kill him, we're finished if you shoot him in broad daylight. He's just a poor kid, and there's no need to fight with him. There will be plenty of opportunities to deal with him." This was what Li Yulan said to Huang Yihu. Huang Yihu put down his hand, and he looked at Charlotte and said fiercely, "Kid, do you know who I am?" Charlotte's tensed nerves also relaxed, and he said tit for tat, "Huang Yihu, even if you turn into ashes, I will still recognize you. Today I will make it clear. Sooner or later, I will make you pay for my friend's life." "Ha ha ha!" Huang Yihu laughed. "You? Do you think you are worthy?" Charlotte sneered. "Whether I am worthy or not, you will soon find out." Huang Yihu pointed at Charlotte. "Fine, you have guts. Whatever tricks you have, use them on me. I will take them all. I'd like to see who will laugh in the end." Li Yulan remained quite calm, and her mind was also the most meticulous. She tentatively said, "Mr. Xia, I didn't expect us to meet so soon. I want to ask, what are you doing here?" Charlotte said, "I'm here to look at the land." "You're here to look at the land?" Li Yulan looked at Charlotte in surprise. Not only her, but Huang Yihu and the two bosses who came with him were also very surprised. Chapter 82. A poor boy, who had just gotten out of poverty and started his career, actually came to see a land worth hundreds of millions? Such a thing, not to mention the local tycoons present, even a primary school student with a little common sense would not believe it. This big talk was too funny, wasn't it? Huang Yihu really laughed out loud. The two bosses who accompanied him also laughed, as did their bodyguards. Their laughter was full of sarcasm and contempt. When they all laughed enough, Charlotte said, "What? Only you are allowed to see the land, can't I see the land?" He looked at Liang Xiao and said, "Xiao, I remember this land hasn't been auctioned yet, right? Liang Xiao also cooperated. She said, yes, this land hasn't been auctioned yet. Anyone can bid. Li Yulan sneered and said, Mr. Xia, don't be funny. You? I don't think you can even afford the deposit. Charlotte pretended to be surprised. Do I need to pay a deposit to bid for government land? Ha ha! This time, even the calmest and most astute Li Yulan in Huang Yihu's group laughed. The boss surnamed Zhou said, is this boy so poor that he's crazy? The boss surnamed Wang said, he's probably crazy. This land is so good that it must be worth hundreds of millions. Does he look like he's worth hundreds of millions? The domestic car on the side of the road is probably his. How dare he bid for a land worth hundreds of millions by driving a domestic beggar's car? Bullsh *t. Li Yulan said, boy, did you hear that? No one believes you. Just now, she was still a little polite and called him Mr. Xia, but now she didn't even have the slightest politeness and directly called him a boy. Charlotte smiled and said, worth hundreds of millions? I think it's only worth 1 or 2 million. You need to spend hundreds of millions to buy this land. I can do it for 1 or 2 million. Huang Yihu and the others laughed again, and the previous tension inexplicably disappeared. In their opinion, Charlotte seemed to be specially sent by God to perform a skit to be funny. You don't believe me? Charlotte looked at Huang Yihu, his gaze turning cold. Huang Yihu, I'm telling you, don't even think about this piece of land. I'm going to use it to build a factory. Huang Yihu snorted coldly, kid, don't think that you can do this just because you have 2 friends. No one else can get this piece of land except me, Huang Yihu. I'm not afraid to tell you that no one is bidding on this piece of land. Even if there is, only I, Huang Yihu, will raise my placard. Charlotte said, how about we make a bet? If you can get this land, I'll kneel down and kowtow to you 3 times. If I get it, you will kneel in front of my friend's grave and kowtow 3 times. All right. I'll bet with you. Huang Yihu agreed to the bet. Words are no proof. Let's write a contract. Charlotte said, I can write a contract, but I have to add one more. Huang Yihu said, if I get this land, you have to kowtow to me in front of Miss Gu. Charlotte said, okay, I agree. Charlotte understood the purpose of Huang Yihu's mentioning Gu Qian at this time. There were 3 purposes. First, it was to let Boss Zhou and Boss Wang know who was behind him, so that Boss Zhou and Boss Wang could rest assured. Second, it was to frighten him and let him understand who he was against. The last purpose was to please Gu Qian, because if he knelt down to Huang Yihu in front of Gu Qian, who had lost face here, would be very happy. Without these 3 benefits, would Huang Yihu bet with Charlotte? Obviously not. Boss Zhou took out a pen and paper from his briefcase. Charlotte wrote 2 gambling contracts with the same content and then signed his name. Huang Yihu also signed the gambling contract, and then threw one of them to Charlotte. Charlotte put away the gambling contract. I will make you honor it. The corner of Huang Yihu's mouth revealed a hint of a sarcastic smile. Kid, this piece of land will be auctioned in a week. You should first gather 50 million yuan as a deposit before you talk to me about honoring the bet. I will choose a lively place and wait for you to kneel down and kowtow to me. Let's wait and see, Charlotte said, and then left the 13th plot with Liang Xiao. Watching Charlotte and Liang Xiao walk to the Great Wall H6 parked on the side of the road, Huang Yihu spat on the ground. Damn, I really wanted to shoot him just now. Hubby, why are you still so angry? You are a legitimate businessman now, you can just leave the fighting to your subordinates. Why do you have to do it yourself? Li Yulan said. The couple's voice was not loud, but they deliberately said it for Boss Zhou and Boss Wang to hear. Forget it, don't let that brat affect our mood. Huang Yihu changed the topic. Boss Zhou, Boss Wang, let's talk about the cooperation. How much are you going to invest? The group chatted as they walked. Only Li Yulan looked back at Charlotte and Liang Xiao. There was a hint of worry in her eyes. After getting in the car, Liang Xiao said, "Lazy, why did you make such a bet with Huang Yihu? Before this piece of land, many developers have their eyes on it. Didn't you hear? Just the deposit to participate in the auction is 50 million yuan. If your two friends can't help you get this piece of land, are you really going to kneel down and kowtow to Huang Yihu?" Charlotte smiled. "You think too much." "I think too much?" Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte in confusion. Charlotte said, "People like Huang Yihu are not trustworthy at all. Even if he loses, he won't honor the bet between us. You know that even if you win, he will go back on his word, so why did you still bet with him?" Liang Xiao was even more confused. Charlotte smiled and said, "For the same reason, if I lose, I won't honor the bet." Liang Xiao shrugged and said with a bitter smile, "I'm really confused by you. Since both of you won't honor the bet, what's the point of betting?" Charlotte said, "What I want is the bet with Huang Yihu's signature. It's equivalent to a piece of waste paper. What do you want it for? You'll know in the future. Anyway, I'm not bored to bet with him. In the end, he will have to pay the price. Let's start with this bet." Xia Lei's lips curled into a mysterious smile. "Forget it, I don't want to know these messy things. I came here today to persuade you to give up your career and learn Wing Chun from my dad. Now it seems that I don't have to mention this." Liang Xiao looked a little disappointed. Xia Lei started the engine and slowly turned the car into the driveway as he said, "Isn't this good? I'll come to the boxing club to learn when I'm free. I can keep my career and learn Wing Chun well." Liang Xiao said, "What you've learned is just superficial. You haven't even seen the real Wing Chun." Charlotte was slightly stunned. "Your dad doesn't teach?" Liang Xiao said, "My dad teaches Wing Chun to strengthen the body. My ancestor, Yan Wing Chun, founded Wing Chun. Of course, there are ancestral skills. You know, there are rules in Wulin. Some sex-unique skills are even passed on to males and not females. They don't even teach their own daughters, let alone students like you. Your family's Wing Chun Kung Fu has been passed down from generation to generation." Charlotte didn't believe it. Liang Zhengchun only had one daughter, Liang Xiao. If he didn't teach her, then there was no one to teach him. Liang Xiao wrinkled her nose and said, "I won't tell you." Xia Lei smiled. "Then tell me, how can I get your dad to pass it on to me?" Liang Xiao said, "Become my father's disciple, and then he can teach you the real Wing Chun." Charlotte said, "I actually want to learn, but if I have to choose between learning Wing Chun and my career, I will definitely choose my career. I have a few workers who rely on me to make a living. I can't leave them alone." "You just love to think about others, but you don't think about yourself much." Speaking of this, Liang Xiao smiled. "However, it is because you are such a person that I want my father to accept you as his disciple. If you have a bad character, my father won't accept you even if you kneel in front of him for 3 days and 3 nights." Charlotte sighed softly. "That's it for the time being. I don't have the luck to be your father's disciple in this life. I can only take time to practice." Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte and was silent for a long time before she said, "Not necessarily. If I can persuade my father to change his traditional idea and let you learn Wing Chun from him while taking care of your career and becoming his disciple, would you be willing to be my father's disciple?" Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "Of course I would. Master Liang is a respectable person. I will treat him as my father." Liang Xiao's cheeks suddenly flushed. "What are you talking about?" Only then did Charlotte realize that his words could be misunderstood. He explained, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. My parents are no longer around. What I mean is, if I acknowledge Master Liang as my master, I will treat him as if he were my father." Okay, I didn't ask you to explain," Liang Xiao said, "but I have a condition." "You have a condition? What is it?" Liang Xiao said, "You know, I came back because my father is old. I quit my job in the United States. I am still unemployed here. You are in the stage of starting your own business and lack an assistant. Let me be your assistant to the president. What do you think? Assistant to the president? Charlotte laughed. What kind of president am I? No matter how small Lima Manufacturing Company is, you are still the president. Well, if you say I'm the president, then I'm the president. But don't you feel wronged for a senior talent like you to work in my small factory? Just say yes or no. I don't want to be polite with you. Liang Xiao had a bold and straightforward temperament of a woman who practiced martial arts. Charlotte stretched out a hand and said, "Welcome to Lima Manufacturing Company. President Xia." Liang Xiao smiled and shook hands with Charlotte. Charlotte said, "Don't call me President Xia. It sounds awkward." Liang Xiao said, "You will get used to it in the future. As a manager of an enterprise, you should have your dignity. I am your assistant to the president. If I call you lazy, others will think that your management ability is not good." Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "That's true. Well, let's go for a drink. Tell me more about how your former bosses managed their enterprises and employees. I lack experience in this area." "Okay, junior brother," Liang Xiao said. This was the first time that Liang Xiao called Charlotte junior brother. In her opinion, it seemed that her father, Liang Zhengchun, would accept Charlotte as his last disciple. Chapter 83. Master, please have some tea. In the boxing gym, Charlotte knelt on the ground and raised a cup of black tea high above his head. Liang Zhengchun took the tea with a serious expression and took a sip. Although his expression was serious, he couldn't help but show joy between his eyebrows. For a martial artist like him, a disciple like Charlotte was really hard to come by in 100 years. It was pure coincidence and luck that he met him. There was a round of applause in the boxing gym. The new and old students were happy for Liang Zhengchun and Charlotte. Lu Xing also applauded, but the smile on his face seemed a little forced. Liang Xiao held a plate with many red envelopes on it and gave them to each student. There was not much money in the red envelopes, only 100 yuan. However, this was the custom of Foshan people. For good luck, they didn't care about the amount of money. Liang Xiao also sent a red envelope to Lu Xing and whispered, "Monk, I know you're a little unhappy, but some things can't be forced. It's good that you've thought it through." Lu Xing said, "I'm fine. Xia Lei is stronger than me. He has been learning Wing Chun for a few days, and I have been learning Wing Chun for a few years, but I can't beat him. He is the most suitable person to inherit Master Lei's mantle. I rarely admire people, but Charlotte is one of them." "Well, it's good that you can think that way." Liang Xiao smiled. Charlotte kowtowed to Liang Zhengchun 3 times and then said, "Master." Liang Zhengchun put down the teacup and helped Charlotte up. He finally couldn't hide the smile on his face. He said with a smile, "I have a word for you. Be a good man and do things well." Charlotte nodded and said, "I'll remember, Master." Liang Zhengchun patted Charlotte on the shoulder and said, "Once you enter the door of Wing Chun, you are a member of Wing Chun. If you use what I teach to do evil and harm people, I won't forgive you." Charlotte nodded again and thought to himself, Master is usually not so long-winded. Why is he so long-winded today? Liang Zhengchun moved closer to Charlotte's ear and lowered his voice. "Xiao said that she works at your company. Is that true?" Charlotte continued nodding. "Yes, it's true." Liang Zhengchun was silent for 2 seconds before he said, "Take good care of her. If any shady man approaches her and has ideas about her, beat him up." Xia Lei nodded after a slight hesitation. Most men who raised their daughters were like this. They were afraid that their daughters would be cheated by bad men. It was not strange for Liang Zhengchun to have such thoughts. Liang Xiao walked over after giving out the red packet. "What are you guys talking about?" Liang Zhengchun whispered, "Don't tell her." Charlotte was also quick-witted and said, Master is teaching me kung fu. Liang Xiao smiled. Seriously, you guys still have a long way to go. Let's have hot pot tonight. What do you guys say? Before Charlotte said yes, Lu Xing said loudly, Okay, today is Junior Charlotte's good day. Let's let Junior Charlotte treat us, okay? Sure. The students cheered. Charlotte said with a smile, Okay, it's my treat. Don't stand on ceremony. Eat and drink to your heart's content. The boxing gym was filled with laughter. After eating hot pot, Charlotte drank a lot of alcohol and couldn't drive. Liang Xiao drove his car and sent him to the neighborhood. Which floor do you live on? Liang Xiao helped Charlotte out of the car and didn't know where to go in the neighborhood full of buildings. Charlotte pointed to the stairwell in front of the car and said vaguely, 6th floor. He was really drunk. He didn't even know which floor he lived on. I'll help you go home. Liang Xiao helped Charlotte to the stairwell. When they approached the stairwell, Lu Ying saw a woman eating a watermelon on the balcony on the 1st floor. She was staring at her and Charlotte with a strange look in her eyes. She thought to herself, this woman is so strange. Doesn't she know that it's rude to stare at people like this? But just as she was thinking about this, the woman suddenly threw away the watermelon and went back into the house. Liang Xiao helped Charlotte into the stairwell. The woman suddenly opened the door and walked out. She looked at her and Charlotte with a smile. She stood in the middle of the stairs and had no intention of giving way. Miss, please let me through, Liang Xiao said politely. She didn't know that this woman was called Jiang Rui, and she didn't know about the ambiguous relationship between this woman and Charlotte. Io, isn't this our family's lazy? Jiang Rui spoke and pretended to meet by chance in the stairwell. Your family's lazy? Liang Xiao asked curiously, Who are you? Didn't he tell you about me? No. Liang Xiao said. Jiang Rui stepped forward and gently slapped Charlotte's head. You brat, you only know how to drink. You didn't even tell me that you made a new friend. Who hit me? Charlotte muttered and then closed his eyes again. Liang Xiao thought, Is this woman Lei Zi's girlfriend? Jiang Rui said again, I'm sorry. Our family's Lei Zi has caused you trouble. You can leave him to me. I'll take care of him. Liang Xiao was hesitant. Although she suspected that this woman was Charlotte's girlfriend, it was still a guess. She didn't feel at ease leaving Charlotte to a strange woman. Jiang Rui directly held Charlotte's other arm and muttered, You don't know, our family's Lei Zi will make trouble when he's drunk. He will vomit all over people, and he will roll on the floor naked. It's so scary. Liang Xiao obviously didn't expect this situation. She couldn't imagine Charlotte rolling on the carpet naked, but she still didn't let go. Jiang Rui pulled a bit and found that Liang Xiao didn't want to let go at all. She suddenly took out a certificate, opened it, and handed it to Liang Xiao. Look, I'm a police officer. Now you should believe me, right? Liang Xiao found out that Jiang Rui was actually a police officer. Moreover, she was the chief of a regional police station. The worry in her heart suddenly disappeared. She finally let go of her hand. Well, I'll leave him to you to take care of. Please tell him that I've driven his car away. I'll pick him up tomorrow morning. Jiang Rui stretched out her hand. Give me the car key. You can take a taxi back. Liang Xiao was stunned for a moment. Finally, she gave the car key to Jiang Rui and then left gloomily. Who told her to be the chief of the police station? Jiang Rui didn't help Charlotte go to the 2nd floor. Instead, she directly entered her house. She abducted Charlotte just like that. Jiang Rui put Charlotte on the sofa in the living room and then gently hit Charlotte's face. Who is that woman? Don't be noisy. Sleep. Charlotte didn't even want to open his eyes. Humph. Jiang Rui reached out and pinched Charlotte's waist again. You're a womanizer. You have a good childhood sweetheart, but you're still playing around outside. What's so good about that long-legged woman? Snore, snore. Charlotte began to snore. You're sleeping so soundly, you heartless bastard. Jiang Rui scolded him, but there was a smile on her face. She leaned on Charlotte's shoulder and said to herself, "You're too bad. You broke into someone's house when you're drunk. What are you trying to do?" Snore, snore. Charlotte continued to snore. Jiang Rui's hand moved around on Charlotte's body. Her cheeks became redder and redder. You were so thin when you were a child. You didn't even have any meat on your butt. But now you're so sturdy. Why are you so sturdy? Are you trying to seduce me? I won't be fooled. Charlotte couldn't feel the hand moving around on his body. He was really asleep. Jiang Rui played for a while and then got up. Forget it. I'll go get you a bath and then help you take a bath. Before leaving, she reached out and pinched Charlotte's thigh again. You're playing around outside. I'm still so good to you. Did I owe you anything in my previous life? Charlotte muttered something, but even he couldn't hear it clearly. Jiang Rui giggled and then turned around to go to the bathroom. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. There was also the sound of a woman singing. She was singing the song Little Apple. But at this moment, the door of her house was suddenly opened. A woman in a trench coat walked in and grabbed Charlotte, who was lying on the sofa. Then, she squatted down and pulled Charlotte over her shoulder and walked away. The door was closed silently. The whole process took less than 15 seconds. You're my little apple. Jiang Rui walked out of the bathroom. Her eyes fell on the sofa. Suddenly, she froze. Where is he? After a while, she rushed out of the door and went to the second floor. Then, she knocked on Charlotte's door. In the room, the woman in the trench coat sprayed a spray into Charlotte's nostrils. Achoo! Charlotte sneezed and then opened his eyes. Lazy, lazy. Jiang Rui's voice came from outside the door. Charlotte shook his head hard and then saw Long Bing standing in front of him. Lazy? Are you at home? Jiang Rui's voice was very anxious. Charlotte seemed to think of something. He replied, I'm at home. What's the matter? I want to break up with you. Jiang Rui's voice was heard, and then the sound of her going downstairs. Charlotte smiled bitterly. From childhood to adulthood, Jiang Rui had broken up with him no less than 100 times, but not once was it true. He knew her too well, just like he knew his own palm. After a long silence, Charlotte said, Why are you here? I'm on a mission. Long Bing said. Xia Lei froze for a moment. Carry out a mission? It's related to me? Long Bing nodded. I'm also very surprised that the target of my mission turned out to be you. Charlotte said, What's going on? Long Bing sat down and looked straight at Charlotte. I couldn't tell you, but I think it doesn't matter if I tell you. Shenzhou Industry Group submitted a report, and this report mentioned you. You processed some very important parts for Shenzhou Industry Group. They also thought that you could upgrade ordinary machine tools to the advanced level of Europe and America. This matter is very important, and they asked me to investigate everything about you. Long Bing suddenly appeared in front of him. Charlotte was very surprised, but after she said the purpose of her visit, he was not surprised anymore. His cooperation with Shenzhou Industry Group seemed to be a cooperation between the two companies, but in fact it was a cooperation between him and Shenzhou Industry Group. He was also very clear that he was of great significance to Shenzhou Industry Group in today's technology blockade environment, which was why he dared to use the order to let Shenzhou Industry Group get the land for him. However, there were pros and cons to everything. He could use his ability to gain benefits from Shenzhou Industry Group, and at the same time, his ability also attracted some people's attention. In that case, it was not strange that Long Bing would appear here to investigate him. Charlotte shrugged. I'm right in front of you. How do you want to investigate me? Where do you start? Good night. Long Bing said, then got up and walked to the door. Hello? Charlotte stood up. You're just going to leave like this? Long Bing opened the door and Long Bing closed it. Charlotte looked at the closed door and did not move for several minutes. Why was she always so mysterious? It was hard to fathom. Chapter 84. Who wanted to investigate him? How would Long Bing investigate him? Charlotte couldn't understand these 2 points, but he wasn't worried at all. He thought that his ability was hidden in his eyes, and others couldn't find it at all. As for those mysterious abilities, he himself didn't know why they appeared, so how could Long Bing investigate? Early the next morning, Charlotte called Long Bing, but Long Bing's mobile phone was turned off, and he couldn't get through. He had long been used to this situation, and didn't think much about it. He went out after breakfast. He had just walked 2 steps out of the corridor when a watermelon skin whizzed straight at his head. Hearing the wind, he quickly squatted down, and the watermelon skin whizzed past his scalp. As soon as he turned his head, he saw Jiang Rui standing on the balcony. Jiang Rui angrily grabbed a piece of watermelon skin and threw it at him again. Charlotte jumped away and said, "Rui, what are you doing? Did I provoke you so early in the morning?" "You didn't provoke me, but I'm happy to hit you. What can you do?" Jiang Rui waved her hand, and the 3rd piece of watermelon skin flew over. This time, her hand lost its aim. The watermelon skin hit the wall next to her, and the watermelon juice splashed on her face and chest. Her snow-white chest and red watermelon juice were very eye-catching. Charlotte laughed and said, "You see, you've done bad things, and God wants to punish you. It's none of your business." Jiang Rui didn't know how to throw watermelon skin anymore. She tentatively asked, "Who was that woman last night?" Charlotte said, "Her name is Liang Xiao, my master's daughter, and my assistant." "Your master?" Charlotte made a Wing Chun hand gesture and said with a smile, "You don't know yet, but I'm learning Wing Chun now. My master is the direct descendant of Yen Yong Chun, and his name is Liang Zhengchun." "Show off." Jiang Rui curled her lips. "That woman is your master's daughter. She should be your senior sister, right? How did she become your assistant?" "He is a top student studying business in the United States. It is my luck that he is willing to help me start a business," Charlotte said. Jiang Rui suddenly lifted her foot, picked up the slipper she had taken off, and threw it at Charlotte. Charlotte hurriedly dodged. "Are you sick? Why did you hit me again?" Jiang Rui scolded. "You're looking for such a young and beautiful assistant. I know you're up to no good. You're so shameless. Don't tell anyone that you know me." "Charlotte," Jiang Rui suddenly remembered something. "Oh right, I'm breaking off all ties with you. I don't want to talk to you. Go away, go away." Charlotte shrugged speechlessly, turned around, and walked toward his Great Wall H6. "Hey!" Jiang Rui said fiercely, "Give me back the slipper. Didn't you not want to talk to me? You still want me to give you the slipper?" Although he said so, Charlotte still picked up Jiang Rui's slipper and threw it back to her. Jiang Rui put on the slipper and said angrily, "I'll tell Xiaoxue you've become bad." Charlotte smiled bitterly, turned around, and walked toward his car. "Bring me some food when you come back tonight. My fridge is empty. Buy more beef, mutton, red wine, etc. You can pay for it first." Jiang Rui's voice came from behind. Charlotte. This was the breaking off of Jiang Rui. In the past 20 years, this style had never changed. When Charlotte drove to Lei Ma Studio, Liang Xiao was already chatting with Zhou Xiaohong and others in the studio. "Boss Lei, when did you hire such a beautiful assistant? Why didn't you tell us?" Chen Ajiao was the first to see Charlotte, and then she said sarcastically, "What assistant? Call me assistant." Zhou Xiaohong corrected Chen Ajiao's mistake, and then said sweetly, "Brother Lazy, good morning." When Charlotte came, he wanted to call Liang Xiao and introduce her to the staff of Lei Ma Studio. He didn't expect that she would find him here and chat with the workers. Charlotte smiled. "It seems that I don't need to introduce you," Liang Xiao said. "Boss Xia, I'll start work today. What do you think?" In front of the workers, she called him Boss Xia. When there was no one else, she called him junior brother or lazy. Obviously, she had entered the dual role of her senior sister and assistant. Charlotte said, "Okay, no problem. You can use my desk for the time being." He looked a little embarrassed. "It's just that it's a little inconvenient for you to work here." "It's nothing," Liang Xiao said with a smile. "I'll make a plan for you first. You need a systematic plan for the company's establishment stage." "Okay, thank you." Charlotte needed such a plan. Liang Xiao quickly got into work mode. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, and her 10 slender fingers were like a group of butterflies flying around, dazzling the eyes of those who saw it. "Look, Miss Liang is so awesome." Zhou Xiaohong had also learned computer skills, but she used one finger to type. Compared with Liang Xiao, she was far behind. "Is she the future boss's wife?" Chen Ajiao, who was drawing on the steel plate, said. Zhou Xiaohong said, "Sister Ajiao, if Miss Liang and Brother Lazy were together, they would really be a good match." Chen Ajiao leaned over and whispered, "Xiaohong, you and Boss Lei are also a good match. You have a big butt and you can definitely have a son." Zhou Xiaohong's face suddenly turned red. She hit Chen Ajiao and said, "Sister Ajiao, if you talk nonsense again, I'll ignore you." Chen Ajiao sighed. "Ah, if only Shaoan was still here. He must like the new Miss Liang very much. He is a lecherous guy, I know." Zhou Xiaohong's expression suddenly became gloomy, and the little shyness in her heart was buried in the blink of an eye by sadness. Charlotte was also sad when he saw this, but he soon recovered. He wanted to process the parts for Shenzhou Industry Group, but he remembered that Shenzhou Industry Group hadn't sent the raw materials yet, so he couldn't start even if he wanted to. "I don't know when Shenzhou Industry Group will send the raw materials. Should I call Zhou Wei or Jiang Xian and ask? At the same time, I can probe them and ask about the land. Forget it, if I call them now, they will think that I can't do without them. I have to stay calm and let them beg me," Xia Lei thought to himself. The Lima Manufacturing Company was about to be established, and the land was the first problem that needed to be solved. The second problem was the employees. When the new factory was established, it was obviously not enough to only have Chen Ajiao and Wang Youfu as employees. However, he had no feasible solution to these two tricky problems. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. Everything was difficult at the beginning. Even setting up a stall on the street was difficult, let alone starting a company. Charlotte walked behind Liang Xiao and watched her typing the plan. Liang Xiao noticed that there was someone behind her. She looked back at Charlotte and said, "We don't care about the land for the time being. We can't do it even if we want to. But we can't just wait like this. We have to do something else. Recruiting workers and ordering equipment, which one do you think we should do first?" Charlotte thought for a moment. "I think we should recruit workers first. Talents are the foundation of an enterprise. Without people, we can't do anything." Liang Xiao smiled. "It's good that you can think like this. I think so too. I'll draft up a recruitment notice and send it out." "Where should I send it?" Xia Lei asked curiously. "Technical School and University of Science and Technology," Liang Xiao said. "In technical school we can recruit basic skilled workers, and in University of Science and Technology, we can recruit more advanced talent. These talents can enhance our competitiveness in the market, and even design our own products for us." Charlotte smiled. "So you have planned everything?" Liang Xiao said, "Of course. After sending you home last night, I went home and sorted out the current situation of our company. By the way, the woman last night..." Charlotte already knew that she was going to talk about Jiang Rui. "Forget it, I don't want to talk about that rude guy." Liang Xiao returned the topic to work. Now the employment situation of college students is not ideal, which also makes it convenient for us to recruit workers. But even so, we still have to make some benefits to attract talents so that we can recruit excellent talent. Charlotte said, "You can do it as you see fit. You are better at it than me. Well, I will be responsible for the recruitment section, and you will be responsible for the land and building the factory. What do you think? Liang Xiao said. Charlotte nodded. Let's do that. Liang Xiao turned her head again and typed the recruitment introduction on the keyboard. Looking at Liang Xiao, who was working hard, Charlotte's heart was gratified. In fact, he was also very clear in his heart that if Liang Zhengchun didn't think that he was a good talent for martial arts and could carry forward the orthodox Wing Chun Kung Fu, would Liang Xiao, a talent who returned from abroad, come to work in his almost empty company? Dream on. At this time, a Hongqi car stopped on the side of the road, and two men got out of the car. One was Jiang Xian, and the other was an old man with a new face. The old man was nearly 60 years old, with gray hair, a thin face, a pair of bright eyes, and a temperament. After Jiang Xian and the old man got out of the car, a small container car also stopped on the side of the road. Most likely to send raw materials. Charlotte's heart moved, and he went out to greet them. Mr. Lei. Jiang Xian smiled and said hello from afar. I wanted to call you before coming, but Mr. Mu didn't let me, so we came directly. Although he didn't know the identity of Mr. Mu, Charlotte could guess that it was not simple. He said politely, "Hello, Mr. Mu." Then he took the initiative to reach out his hands to shake hands with Mr. Mu. When Mr. Mu shook hands with Charlotte, Jiang Xian introduced, "This is the old leader of our Shenzhou industry group, Mu Jianfeng." Then he said, "Mr. Mu, this is Charlotte, Mr. Xia, I told you about." In this way, Charlotte and Mu Jianfeng got to know each other. Mu Jianfeng looked at Charlotte carefully, and then looked at the small Lei Ma studio behind Charlotte. After a while, he said, "Boy, you only have such a small studio on the street, and you dare to ask our Shenzhou industry group to buy land for you to build a factory?" Xia Lei froze for a moment, and his expression was rather awkward. He wanted to guess what Mu Jianfeng was thinking at the moment, but Mu Jianfeng was expressionless, a real old fox, so he couldn't guess at all. Just when Charlotte felt very embarrassed, Mu Jianfeng said with a smile, "However, putting your ability aside, I have to give you a thumbs up for your courage to threaten our Shenzhou industry group. Well, boy, you are a talent and your future is limitless." Charlotte secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "Mr. Mu, you flatter me." Chapter 85. A person who ran a small street shop cooperated with a large national enterprise and even threatened the large national enterprise to buy land for him to repair his factory. This indeed required considerable courage and boldness. Mu Jianfeng admired Charlotte's personality and ability, which was why he was here. At this time, Jiang Xian came to Charlotte's side and whispered, "Mr. Xia, do you know who he is? He's our boss." Only then did Charlotte know Mu Jianfeng's identity. This identity shocked him and made him speechless. At this time, Liang Xiao also noticed that Mu Jianfeng and Jiang Xian had come. She vaguely guessed something and followed them out. "Boss Xia, please take a look at this recruitment document. Is it okay?" Liang Xiao specially handed the newly printed recruitment document to Charlotte. Charlotte understood Liang Xiao's thoughts very well. He said with a smile, "Old Mu, Mr. Jiang, let me introduce you. This is my assistant, Liang Xiao." Liang Xiao followed and bowed. "Hello, Old Mu, hello, Mr. Jiang." Instead of shaking hands directly, they bowed to each other. This was already a very high etiquette in the workplace. Jiang Xian said very politely, "Hello, Miss Liang. May I know which university did you graduate from, and what is your major?" Liang Xiao said, "I also graduated from Harvard University in the United States. I majored in business management. I used to work in an e-commerce company in the United States, and I also worked in a venture capital company." She simply and generously explained her resume and smiled again. "Now I work for Boss Xia." After listening to her, Mu Jianfeng and Jiang Xian couldn't help but look at each other. Both of them looked surprised. Because they knew very well that business management talents who graduated from Harvard University were also very popular in the United States, not to mention in China. As long as she was willing, she could totally choose to work in a listed company, and her annual salary would definitely be at least 500,000 yuan. But such a high talent actually chose to follow Charlotte, who was still starting his own business. When Charlotte saw Jiang Xian and Mu Jianfeng's reactions, he felt especially honored in his heart. Miss Liang, if I give you an annual salary of 500,000, would you be willing to work in our company? Mu Jianfeng said. Charlotte's smile froze on his face as he thought to himself, what's wrong with this old man Mu? Even if you want to poach people, you should do it behind my back, right? I'm still here, yet he dares to poach me? Does he not care about me at all, or does he not intend to help me get that piece of land? For a moment, Charlotte's heart was filled with guesses and worries. At this time, Liang Xiao said, Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Mu. Compared with your Shenzhou Industrial Company, I would rather stay in Thunder Horse Manufacturing. Mu Jianfeng looked interested. Miss Liang, tell me why. Liang Xiao said, Although your company is big and the salary is considerable, that is only a temporary advantage. If I stay in Thunder Horse Manufacturing Company, I can get more room for development. My current income is certainly not 500,000 yuan a year, but it will be more than that in the future. This is the reason for the income. Another reason is the prospects. The prospects of Thunder Horse Manufacturing Company are very good, not comparable to ordinary companies. You have to admit this, otherwise you wouldn't be here, would you? Her words hit the nail on the head. If it weren't for the fact that Charlotte and Charlotte's Thunder Horse Manufacturing Company were the only ones in China who could process the ultra-precision parts they needed, would Mu Jianfeng and Jiang Xian be here? Great, they are not simple. Young people today are much more powerful than we were at that time. Mu Jianfeng laughed and said, Miss Liang, I was just joking. You can go and do your work. Well, okay, Mr. Mu. Liang Xiao turned around and left. Charlotte stopped her and handed her the recruitment document. You are responsible for it. Don't ask me. Liang Xiao nodded and took the recruitment document into Thunder Horse Studio. The employees of Thunder Horse Studio looked at Mu Jianfeng and Jiang Xian curiously and whispered. After Liang Xiao went in, she motioned for them not to look and to continue working. Then they stopped talking and began to work. As Charlotte's assistant, her rank was definitely higher than theirs, so they had to listen to her words. The employees of Thunder Horse Studio were not highly educated, but one thing was very good. They could clearly distinguish who the boss was. Whatever the boss asked them to do, they would always do it to the letter. Mu Jianfeng said to Jiang Xian, Little Jiang, ask the workers to unload the raw materials and then ask them to help move them into the studio. Mr. Xia's studio has few employees, so we don't need his people. Okay. Jiang Xian followed and arranged it. Mu Jianfeng said to Charlotte, Mr. Xia, walk with me. Charlotte had already guessed that there would be such a moment. He said, Okay, let's walk around. The old man and the young man walked along the sidewalk, chatting as they walked. Mr. Xia, the main purpose of my coming this time is not to help you get that piece of land. Do you know what it is? After chatting for a while, Mu Jianfeng led the topic to business. Charlotte said, I can probably guess. Mr. Mu came to Haizhu this time to find out whether I can upgrade ordinary machine tools to the most advanced ones in developed countries in Europe and America, right? Good guess. Since you have guessed it, can you give me a reassuring answer? Mu Jianfeng stopped and looked straight into Charlotte's eyes, as if he wanted to see through all the secrets of Charlotte. Charlotte said, I have already told Mr. Zhou Wei and Mr. Jiang Xian that I can do it, but only if I go abroad and see the drawings and the real thing. That's no problem. You can go abroad at any time. We also have channels to let you see the drawings and the most advanced machine tools. When will you go abroad? Charlotte said, after the company is built. There was a flash of displeasure in Mu Jianfeng's eyes. Mr. Xia, do you really want us to help you get that piece of land? Charlotte nodded and said, well, I will ask you for this one thing. I will not ask you for anything else in the future. Mu Jianfeng walked forward again and said, Mr. Xia, it is very difficult for you to help. Charlotte stopped talking and said in his heart, I have to help even if I don't want to. How much money do you have now? A total of 4 million yuan. What? Mu Jianfeng looked at Charlotte in surprise. You only have 6 million yuan, and you want us to help you buy a piece of land that is worth more than 100 million yuan? Are you kidding me? Mu Jianfeng's tone suddenly became bad, but Xia Lei's patience didn't decrease. He lightly said, yes, it's only 6 million. I still need to use this money to build a factory, add equipment, hire workers, and so on. Now I can't wait to use a penny as 10,000 yuan. Mu Jianfeng sneered. I thought you had money in your hands, at least 70 or 80 million yuan. We can lend you some, and then use our administrative relationship to requisition that piece of land for special purposes. But now you actually tell me that you only need 6 million yuan, and this money needs to be used to build a factory, buy equipment, and even recruit workers. Young man, are you trying to make me happy? Mu Jianfeng's tone became more and more impolite, and Charlotte's temper slowly rose. He also sneered, Old Mu, if this happened 5 or 6 years later, I wouldn't need to ask you for help at all. I really don't have any money now. I am using the benefits of our future cooperation to do today's matter. You say it as lightly as a wick. Young man, I have to remind you that the land you want is worth more than 100 million yuan. Mu Jianfeng said bluntly, if you don't have that money, why do you have to choose that piece of land? You can choose a remote place. Dozens of acres of land can be settled for 1 million yuan. Give me an explanation. Charlotte frowned. Do you think I am blackmailing you? Mu Jianfeng said, if you don't have a more reasonable explanation, I will understand it this way. Charlotte snorted, if you really think so, then we don't need to talk anymore. What do you mean? I don't mean anything. I will complete the order signed with Mr. Zhou this time, and then you can find someone else. In the future, even if it's a screw, I won't do it for you. You brat! Mu Jianfeng was so angry that he blew his beard. No one had ever dared to talk to him like this, and Charlotte was the first one. Keep your money and relationship. Goodbye, Mr. Mu. Charlotte said this and turned to leave. Wait. Mu Jianfeng was anxious and grabbed Charlotte's arm. Charlotte didn't dare to break free. He was worried that he would accidentally pull the old man down, and then the show would be over. Why do you have such a bad temper? Mu Jianfeng stared at Charlotte unhappily. I can be your grandfather. As a grandfather, you can't stand it when I teach you a lesson? Charlotte said, I didn't say anything. It's just that, Mr. Mu, how can I be happy if you treat me as a liar? I don't think you dare to cheat Shenzhou Industrial Group. I think you know what kind of company it is, Mu Jianfeng said. Charlotte said, of course I know. It is equivalent to the Lockheed Martin Corporation in the United States, which produces war weapons for the country. So, even if I am tired of living, I will not be stupid enough to cheat your money, right? What's more, I am not cheating money but land. Can I sell that land? Or will I be able to take the land abroad? Mu Jianfeng's expression eased a little, but his words were not soft. But that land is really worth hundreds of millions. Your Lima Manufacturing Company built a factory on that land. Your company is not valuable, but the land is valuable. Even if the property company evaluates the assets, you will be worth hundreds of millions at once. Do you think this is reasonable? Do you think it is unreasonable? No. Mu Jianfeng shook his head. Charlotte said, Let me make an analogy. I am not selling water next to the water company, I am selling water in the desert. You are my customers walking in the desert. Europe and the United States have implemented a strict technical blockade, and your water storage has long been used up. Just when you were extremely thirsty, you found me, a water seller. You tell me, can you give me 1 yuan, and I will sell water to you? Mu Jianfeng was stunned for a long time and suddenly laughed. Well said, this analogy is very appropriate. You are indeed the person selling water in the desert. Is this the reason why you are not afraid to blackmail us? Charlotte shrugged. Whatever you say, I don't care if you cheat or blackmail me. I don't care what you think of me. I just want to build a factory on that land. Mu Jianfeng sighed and then walked back. Charlotte stood in the same place and did not move. Mu Jianfeng took 2 steps and then turned back and shouted, Why are you still standing there? Take me to see that land. Charlotte immediately smiled. Okay, old Mu, I will take you to see the land. Mu Jianfeng shook his head with a bitter smile. You are the most stubborn boy I have ever seen. Chapter 86. Shenzhou Industry Group sent raw materials, so Charlotte was busy. He was the only one who could process the parts needed by Shenzhou Industry Group, and the people in the studio couldn't help even if they wanted to. Fortunately, Mu Jianfeng and Jiang Xin were in charge of the land, so he didn't need to worry about it. On the other side, Liang Xiao was also in charge of recruitment, so he didn't need to worry about it. Otherwise, he would have to split himself into 3 people to use. Long Bing appeared once and then disappeared mysteriously. Charlotte only called her once, and then he never called her again. It wasn't that he didn't want to see her, but she was investigating him. It was inappropriate for a person being investigated to call the person being investigated and ask him out for a meal. In this way, half a month passed in the blink of an eye. In this half a month, Charlotte worked overtime to process the precision parts needed by Shenzhou Industry Group. Except for Zhou Xiaohong, who lived in the studio, he was the first person to come to the studio every day and the last person to leave. After half a month of busy work, the order signed with Zhou Wei was finally completed. Just like the parts processed for Dongfang Heavy Industry last time, this time the order was also completed in advance and with high quality. In this half a month, Liang Xiao also made some progress. In this half a month, she went to several technical schools and signed almost 100 technicians who were about to graduate. There was no factory, no dormitory, but this didn't prevent her from doing it. Her way of dealing with it was very simple. Each contracted mechanic could get 500 yuan of living expenses before Lima manufacturing was completed. Only 50,000 yuan a month was enough to solve the problem of manpower reserve. Her intelligence was obvious. As for the more senior talents, Liang Xiao also had her way of dealing with them. She looked for her favorite fresh graduates in Haizhu Institute of Technology and attracted talents with ideals and a higher salary than other recruitment unit. If it didn't work, she would show them a copy of the order signed by Charlotte and Shenzhou Industry Group and boast about the strength of Lima Manufacturing Company. This move worked wonders for those geeks. The reason was very simple. Thunder Horse Manufacturing could actually process precision parts that could only be imported from Europe and the United States. Working in such a new company would definitely have a bright future. Half a month later, the Haizhu city government launched the land trading market and put several pieces of land together for bidding and auction. Charlotte and Liang Xiao arrived at the auction hall early in the morning. The auction hall was already filled with people. Most of them were real estate developers, but there were also some bosses of companies that needed land for expansion. These people were dressed in suits and leather shoes, and they had young and beautiful female secretaries with them. They were all high-spirited, and every one of them was a winner in life. Why isn't Elder Mu here yet? Scanning the hall, Liang Xiao did not see Mu Jianfeng, who was supposed to be there. She said worriedly, Will he not come? Charlotte didn't seem worried at all. Maybe it's a traffic jam. Don't worry, he'll be back. When I delivered the goods to him yesterday, we made an appointment. Liang Xiao smiled bitterly. This matter is too important to us. I always worry and think about the worst. Charlotte said with a smile, What's there to worry about? With Elder Mu's identity and connections, he's just here to go through the process. Just then, a group of people came in from the entrance of the hall. At the front were Huang Yihu and his wife, Li Yulan. Behind them were several bosses and 4 bodyguards. The bodyguards were Huang Yihu's bodyguards. Charlotte recognized them at a glance. He had seen 4 bodyguards with guns in the fishing village villa. Charlotte's eyes then moved to the waists of the 4 bodyguards. If Huang Yihu's bodyguards came in with guns, it would really give him a chance to take revenge. If they brought guns in on such an occasion, he only needed to call the police to make Huang Yihu suffer. Unfortunately, when he glanced at the 4 bodyguards, he didn't find that they were carrying guns. No matter how arrogant a person like Huang Yihu was, he wouldn't dare to be arrogant in front of the government. Huang Yihu and Li Yulan also saw Charlotte and walked over. Mr. Xia, are you here to watch the fun? Li Yulan said sarcastically. I just asked the registration office, and they said that no boss named Charlotte paid a deposit. Huang Yihu also said sarcastically, Boss? How can a person who can't even pay a deposit of 50 million yuan be called a boss? Charlotte said, It's true that I can't pay a deposit of 50 million yuan because I don't know how to cheat. If I were to steal and rob like you, I would probably be able to pay a deposit of 50 million yuan and then participate in the auction like a decent person. Huang Yihu's 4 bodyguards rushed up. Huang Yihu glared at them and the 4 bodyguards retreated. Huang Yihu looked at Charlotte and said, Boy, I'm still waiting for you to kneel and kowtow to me. Don't leave after the auction is over. I'll tell you where to kneel and kowtow to me. Charlotte said, I also want to remind you not to leave after the auction is over. I'll take you to kneel and kowtow to my friend's grave. Humph! Huang Yihu snorted coldly and left with his bodyguards. Liang Xiao said angrily, I really want to beat this guy up. And the woman beside him, I've never seen such a cheap woman. Charlotte said, It's not worthwhile to be angry with this kind of person. Let's find a place to sit. Charlotte and Liang Xiao picked a seat in the corner and sat down, waiting for the auction to begin. In the process of waiting, Liang Xiao took out her laptop from her computer bag to work. Charlotte also took out a small notebook and wrote on it with a pen. He wrote very seriously. After writing one, he continued to write another. He didn't write specific content. He just wrote whatever he thought of. In the auction hall, the bosses were chatting with each other, and it was not quiet at all. Charlotte and Liang Xiao were an exception. They were very quiet and focused on their own things, indifferent to the people and things around them. During this time, Liang Xiao squinted at Charlotte and the small notebook in his hand. She saw the messy content on the notebook and asked curiously, What are you writing? Charlotte smiled and said, Nothing, just practicing calligraphy. Practicing calligraphy? Liang Xiao looked at the crooked Chinese characters on the notebook and became more curious. I've seen your handwriting. It's very delicate, but your handwriting is so bad now. It's like the handwriting of a primary school student. Do you want your handwriting to get worse and worse? How can you practice calligraphy like this? Charlotte leaned over to her ear and whispered, This isn't my handwriting. It's someone else's handwriting. Liang Xiao was stunned for a moment. She suddenly remembered something. You're imitating Huang Yihu's handwriting? Charlotte nodded. He was indeed practicing Huang Yihu's handwriting. After half a month of imitating practice, not only could he completely imitate Huang Yihu's signature on the bet, but he could also use Huang Yihu's handwriting to write other content. What do you want to do by imitating his handwriting? Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte with some worry. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Charlotte didn't want her to get involved. Liang Xiao said, I know you want to avenge your friend, but you have to be careful. It's best not to do anything illegal. Charlotte said, Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Liang Xiao didn't continue to ask Charlotte why he imitated Huang Yihu's note. She turned the laptop on her knees to Charlotte and said, Look, this is the personnel arrangement plan I drafted according to the employees I recruited during this period of time. After the factory is built, we need some middle-level cadres and our product research and development department. I've made arrangements according to the specialties of some people. If you think it's feasible, I'll implement it. Charlotte just looked at it lightly and said with a smile, I said that you're responsible for these things. Aren't you afraid that I'll lie to you? Liang Xiao looked at Charlotte with a smile. Charlotte said, We're a family. You won't lie to me. However, even if you lie to me, I don't care. Liang Xiao's dimples turned red inexplicably. We're a family. This sentence had different meanings from different perspectives. Just as the two were whispering, the government staff who presided over the land auction went up to the auction stage. He tested the microphone and then said, Please be quiet. The state-owned land auction is about to begin. Please keep your number plates and abide by the order of the venue. The whole auction hall suddenly quieted down. Liang Xiao subconsciously looked at the door of the hall, but she still didn't see Mu Jianfeng's figure. Charlotte was also a little puzzled. He secretly said, Yesterday we had a good agreement. Did he stand me up? That's impossible. Elder Mu is the kind of person who keeps his promises. How could he stand me up? No matter what Charlotte and Liang Xiao thought, the door of the auction hall was still empty. Mu Jianfeng and his entourage were nowhere to be seen. The land auction soon began. The supporters showed the situation of the auctioned land to the people present with a slide. Then the bosses raised their cards and bid for the land they wanted. One piece of land after another was auctioned. An hour later, the host bid from land number 1 to land number 12. Charlotte and Liang Xiao didn't know how many times they looked at the door of the hall, but Mu Jianfeng never appeared. Huang Yihu, who was sitting in the front row, looked back at Charlotte and Liang Xiao. His eyes were full of sarcasm and contempt. He seemed to be saying to Charlotte, You're going to lose. Liang Xiao said gloomily, It seems that Elder Mu won't come. We've been cheated by him. If Liang Xiao had said this half an hour ago, Charlotte would have persuaded her not to worry, but now he couldn't rest assured. Land number 12 was quickly taken away by a boss at a price of 120 million. The host played the slide of land number 13 on the slide and said, Now the auction for land number 13 will begin. This land is located on the east side of the third ring road. It has an area of 21 acres and is surrounded by schools and hospitals. The price of this land is 80 million. Now the bidding begins. The phase of raising signs and competing had begun. Huang Yihu was the first to raise his card. 81 million. Huang Yihu was the only one who raised his card. No one competed with him. Huang Yihu was He Laoqi, who dared to snatch the land that He Laoqi wanted. Is there any other bid? If not, this land will be won by this gentleman at the price of 81 million. The host urged the other bosses to raise their cards, but this situation didn't happen. After a minute, he said helplessly, 81 million once, 81 million twice. Wait! An old man's voice suddenly came from the door. Chapter 87. This voice attracted everyone's attention. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Mu Jianfeng walked in from the entrance of the hall accompanied by Jiang Exin. Who is that old man? Someone said in a low voice. He actually dared to stop Chairman Huang from raising his sign? He really doesn't know what's good for him. I've never seen this old man before. Who is he? Someone said. This is going to be a good show. Huang Yihu released the news that anyone who competed with him for Lot 13 would be against him. Now that this old man has made it clear that he's here for lot 13, I want to see how Huang Yihu will deal with this, someone said in a low voice. Sigh, he's probably a foreign merchant who doesn't know what's going on. He actually dared to compete for Huang Yihu's land. He's screwed. Someone sighed. The hall was filled with buzzing sounds of discussion, and the previous quiet atmosphere suddenly disappeared. Mu Jianfeng turned a deaf ear to the discussions around him. His eyes quickly swept across the seats and quickly found Charlotte and Liang Xiao sitting in the corner. He nodded to Charlotte and Liang Xiao, then strode toward the auction booth. Before Mu Jianfeng and Jiang Xian could get close, the auctioneer probed, "Old sir, are you here to bid for lot 13? If you are, please find a seat and raise your sign according to the rules." Mu Jianfeng said, "I really came for this land. Sitting down is a must. I'll say a few words and leave." What an awesome style! With just this one sentence, the noisy hall strangely quieted down. Everyone's gazes converged on Mu Jianfeng's body in unison. At this time, Huang Yihu finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He stood up from his seat and walked out of the alley, blocking Mu Jianfeng and Jiang Xian's path. "Who are you?" Huang Yihu's tone was very aggressive and full of threat. Mu Jianfeng frowned slightly. "And who are you?" Li Yulan also stood up and said loudly, "Host, what's wrong with you? Weren't you going to close the hammer? Why did it stop?" A piece of land recognized by the industry to be worth hundreds of millions, or even more, yet Huang Yihu had used the method of suppressing other bidders to bid 81 million. This was, in fact, illegal appropriation of government asset. Of course, the host knew the reason very well, but he didn't dare to say anything even though he was angry. Coincidentally, an old man appeared and interrupted the auction. Of course, he was happy to postpone the auction. The host said, "It seems that this old gentleman also wants to bid for this land. I have no reason to stop him from participating." Li Yulan was getting anxious. He wants to bid for this piece of land too? Did he pay a deposit? Did he have the right to bid? Take it out and let me see. Get out of my way. Mu Jianfeng was angry. Huang Yihu had no intention of backing down. Didn't you hear? Take out what you're supposed to take out. If you're not qualified to bid, then you're here to cause trouble. Please leave. He pointed at the entrance of the hall. Charlotte walked over quickly. "Mr. Mu, is there a dog blocking the way?" Mu Jianfeng said, "There is indeed a dog blocking the way, but it's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. If this can stop me, then I've lived my life in vain." Huang Yihu didn't take Mu Jianfeng's words seriously. He looked at Charlotte and said with a ferocious expression, "Sure enough, it's you who's causing trouble. You're overestimating yourself." "Get out of my way," Charlotte said. Huang Yihu didn't move, but there was a hint of disdain in the corner of his mouth. Charlotte suddenly grabbed Huang Yihu's collar and pushed him in the direction of the chair. Huang Yihu was immediately pushed down on the chair and looked very embarrassed. Huang Yihu's 4 bodyguards rushed up. The security guards and the police on duty also rushed over, and the whole hall suddenly became chaotic. "Quiet, quiet. What's the noise?" A man's voice suddenly came from the auction stage. This voice was majestic and full of anger. The chaotic scene quieted down for a while. "Isn't that Mayor Hu Ho? He's also here." Someone recognized the middle-aged man who had just walked on the auction stage. Charlotte glanced at the fair-skinned middle-aged man standing on the auction stage and thought, "So he is the mayor. He looks like a teacher, but his words are so majestic." Huang Yihu got up from the chair. He was full of anger, but he didn't dare to act rashly in front of Hu Ho, so he had to bear it. However, his eyes were full of murderous intent when he looked at Charlotte, as if he wanted to stab Charlotte a few times. "Mr. Mu, I'm really sorry," Hu Ho said into the microphone. "I was delayed because something came up, so I couldn't come in advance." Mu Jianfeng walked to the auction stage and said with a smile, I just arrived. Your Haiju city is too busy. There was a traffic jam all the way. Hu Ho and Mu Jianfeng shook hands on the stage. The scene looked very cordial and polite. It was a different scene in the audience. Almost everyone was guessing Mu Jianfeng's identity, and some people began to guess who the young man who had just thrown Huang Yihu on the chair was. Boy, who is he? Seeing Mayor Hu Ho and Mu Jianfeng shaking hands intimately, Huang Yihu finally felt guilty and a little timid. Charlotte sneered, Why? Weren't you very arrogant just now? Now you know how to be afraid? Afraid? Huang Yihu said, I, Huang Yihu, have never known how to write the word afraid. He Lauchi doesn't know how to write the word afraid, right? Charlotte said, You will die. Huang Yihu's tone was full of threat. Xia Lei smiled. Of course I will die, but it will definitely be after you. You don't have much time left. At this time, Mu Jianfeng on the stage walked to the microphone, opened a document handed to him by Jiang Xian, and slowly read, Due to the special location of the number 13 land in Haiju City, the auction is temporarily cancelled. This land is now requisitioned by Shenzhou Industrial Group for the construction of a manufacturing enterprise related to national defense. The audience was silent. Who could stop a large national enterprise from using this reason to take the land? Not to mention Huang Yihu, even the Gu family had to step aside. Before Mu Jianfeng finished reading the document, Huang Yihu and Li Yulan's faces were already pale. For this land, the couple had fallen out with the bosses of many Haiju land companies, and had invested a considerable amount of money in the early stage. They had thought that these investments would bring them a lot of profits, but now it seemed that it was all for naught. Both Huang Yihu and Li Yulan stared at Charlotte. What the couple wanted to do most now was to eat Charlotte's flesh and drink Charlotte's blood. Charlotte looked relaxed. He said with a smile, Boss Huang, don't forget our bet. I'm still waiting to take you to my friend's grave to kneel and kowtow to him. Huang Yihu gritted his teeth. At this time, Mu Jianfeng finished reading the document. He added to the microphone, Mr. Xia, please come here. Charlotte followed him. Liang Xiao followed Charlotte for 2 steps, but she frowned and said awkwardly, Boss Xia, you go ahead. I go to the bathroom. Go ahead and then come here, said Charlotte. Liang Xiao walked in the direction of the bathroom. Huang Yihu suddenly gave his 4 bodyguards a look, and his 4 bodyguards followed them. Charlotte walked to the stage and greeted them politely, Hello, Mr. Mu. Hello, Mayor Hu. What's the matter? Mu Jianfeng smiled and said, Little Hu, you talk to him. Hu Ho handed a thick document bag to Charlotte and said, This is the certificate for the use of land number 13. It's yours now. Later, go to the Land Bureau and pay a fee of 1 million, and then you can build a factory on that land. Charlotte bought a land worth hundreds of millions with 1 million. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mu. Thank you, Mayor Hu. Charlotte was very excited. Mu Jianfeng smiled and said, Don't thank me. You only have the right to use that land. You don't have the right to sell or transfer it. If you want to sell it and make a fortune, I won't forgive you. Charlotte laughed and said, That won't happen. Absolutely not. Hu Ho looked at Charlotte and said in a friendly tone, Mr. Xia, I heard something about you from Mr. Mu. The younger generation will surpass the older. When Mr. Mu mentioned this land to me, I actually didn't agree. But when I heard that a local young man wanted to use it to build a manufacturing company, and that it would process precision parts that could only be imported from Europe and the United States, I immediately agreed. I thought that if I sold the land to a developer to build a building, it would only bring a little financial income, but if I gave it to you to build a factory, it would bring lasting benefits. I have high hopes for you, young man. Work hard and strive to develop your company into a world-class enterprise. These words were full of positive energy, and Charlotte's heart was moved. If there were more leaders like Hu Ho and Mu Jianfeng, China's dream of soaring was more than just a dream. Kid, go ahead and do what you have to do, Mu Jianfeng said. Well, goodbye, Mr. Mu, goodbye, Mayor Hu, Charlotte said politely. Hu Ho said, by the way, Mr. Xia, if you have any difficulties, remember to come to me. Charlotte nodded and said, well, thank you, Mayor Hu. Charlotte walked down the auction stage, and Hu Ho said with a smile, this kid is not bad, modest and polite. Mu Jianfeng curled his lips and said, that's because you haven't seen his stubbornness. I think he is a calf who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, what our country lacks is a calf like him, haha. The land auction continued, but Huang Yihu and Li Yulan were no longer in the mood to continue to stay. The couple left their seats and walked along the corridor to the entrance of the hall. Charlotte quickly walked up and said, Huang Yihu, stop. Huang Yihu looked back at Charlotte and said fiercely, kid, you'd better not provoke me now. Charlotte said, have you forgotten our bet? You didn't get the 13th plot. According to our bet, you have to kneel and kowtow in front of my friend's grave with me. Bet? Huang Yihu sneered and said, I did sign a bet with you, but I signed it as a joke. If you don't agree, you can go to court and sue me. Li Yulan interrupted and said, I advise you to be sensible and not overestimate yourself. Oh, by the way, you should go and see your girlfriend. She went to the bathroom for a while. Did something happen to her? Huang Yihu sneered again and again. Charlotte suddenly had an ominous feeling in his heart. He grabbed Huang Yihu's collar and said, if you dare to touch her, I will kill you. Let go or I will call the police. Huang Yihu stared at Charlotte. Charlotte let go of Huang Yihu and quickly ran to the bathroom. Huang Yihu and Li Yulan looked at each other and followed. After passing through a corridor and turning a corner, the scene that suddenly came into sight made Charlotte stunned. Huang Yihu's 4 bodyguards were lying on the ground, all of them with bruises and swollen faces. Liang Xiao was washing her hands in the sink. She was very calm, as if it were just a few bonsai on the ground. You're here. Liang Xiao saw Charlotte and greeted him with a smile. Charlotte came back to his senses and said, are you all right? Liang Xiao glanced at the 4 bodyguards lying on the ground and said disdainfully, They are not qualified. If this was not a government agency, I would have broken their teeth. Charlotte. At this time, Huang Yihu and Li Yulan came out from the corner. At first glance, they saw the 4 bodyguards lying on the ground, and suddenly their faces turned pale. The couple looked at the lovely Liang Xiao, but their eyes looked like they were looking at a beautiful snake, or some kind of monster. Liang Xiao walked over and pointed at Huang Yihu's nose and said, My surname is Liang, and my name is Liang Xiao. Remember it. My father is Liang Zhengchun, the 10th generation of Wing Chun. Others are afraid of you, but I am not at all. Do you think you have many people? One phone call from my father, and the whole street is full of his disciples. Do you dare to set up a battlefield? I can kill you in minutes. Huang Yihu didn't say anything, but he was sweating a lot. Chapter 88. In the Liang family, an old man and 2 young people were eating together. There was a plate of sweet and sour pork ribs, a plate of twice-cooked pork, a plate of spicy eggplant, and a plate of stir-fried lettuce on the table. These dishes were cooked by Charlotte, which was also his celebration of taking the land. It was simple but real. Master, have a piece of pork ribs. Charlotte picked up a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs and put it into Liang Zhengchun's bowl. Liang Zhengchun smiled and said, Eat, you eat too. You don't have to pick up food for me. Dad, if Lazy picks up food for you, you eat it, Liang Xiao said with a smile. Lazy told me more than once that he is his father. He can say this, but you can't say it casually. Liang Zhengchun smiled mysteriously, and there seemed to be some other meaning in his words. Liang Xiao's dimples turned slightly red, and she buried her head to eat. Charlotte was also a little embarrassed and lowered his head to eat. Liang Jingchun didn't want to let go of Liang Xiao. He knocked Liang Xiao's head with his chopsticks and scolded, "Look at Lazy, a man, cooking such good dishes. You are a girl, but you only cook instant noodles. Aren't you ashamed? Learn from Lazy. When you get married, you can't make instant noodles for your husband and children every day, can you?" "Dad." Liang Xiao's face became redder. Okay, let's not talk about you. Let's eat." Liang Jingchun stopped talking, but he couldn't hide the joy between his eyebrows. Charlotte could buy a land worth hundreds of millions with 1,000,000 yuan, which made him feel proud as a master. After eating, Liang Xiao took the initiative to wash the dishes. Liang Jingchun also called Charlotte to his study. This was actually the first time that Charlotte came to Liang Jingchun's home. He was surprised by the collection of books in Liang Jingchun's study. In his sight, several rows of bookshelves were full of books. There were not only martial arts but also natural science, literary classics, and so on. It was very comprehensive. Charlotte said, "Master, you like reading so much. I'll bring you some good books next time." Liang Jingchun smiled. "Sure. When I'm not practicing martial arts, I read books, write, and draw. Reading is good. You should also read more books. Books can teach people knowledge, but they can also teach people the principles of life." Charlotte said, "I'll remember." Liang Jingchun patted Charlotte's shoulder. "Master didn't call you here to teach you these principles. I think it's time to teach you something." Charlotte was suddenly excited. He knew that Liang Jingchun was going to teach him the unique skill of Wing Chun. Every man in China seemed to have a kung fu dream, but very few had seen real kung fu, let alone learned it. With such an opportunity in front of him, how could Charlotte not be excited? At this moment, he felt as if he had returned to his childhood. He had just finished watching The Hero, starring Jet Li, and was looking forward to having a martial arts master as his teacher. Then this martial arts master appeared in front of him and gave him guidance. This feeling was really great. "Lei, what do you understand about the concept of Dantian?" Liang Jingchun didn't teach boxing, but he asked such a strange question. Charlotte thought for a moment and touched his forehead awkwardly. "Master, I've only read about the description of Dantian in martial arts novels. Is it the place where internal force is stored?" Liang Jingchun shook his head, then stretched out a finger and pointed at Charlotte's eyebrows, heart, and navel. "Finally," he said, "what I'm pointing at is the Dantian. The upper is the upper Dantian, the middle is the middle Dantian, and the lower Dantian. What you see in martial arts novels is mostly about the lower Dantian behind the navel." Charlotte nodded. This was not difficult to understand. Liang Jingchun then said, "The Dantian is not a fictional concept, but a real organ. The first part of the Huangting exterior scripture says, 'Breathing primordial qi will be in the Dantian.' In the Dantian, 3 inches below the navel, yin and yang are the doors. Common people give birth to children, and Taoists give birth to bodies. Do you understand the meaning of this?" Charlotte silently understood this sentence in his heart, but in the end, he still shook his head. His understanding of martial arts was too little. Liang Jingchun smiled. "In fact, it's very simple. The Dantian is an organ for people to cultivate qi and keep healthy. If you cultivate it, it will make you strong and powerful, and everything will be clear. If you ignore it, it will be like human muscle atrophy, and it will slowly wither. Taoist masters of health can live to 140 or 150 years old and still walk as if they are flying, and their minds are agile. This is the embodiment of this principle." Charlotte seemed to understand a little. He seemed to understand something, but he couldn't say a word if he wanted to say it. Liang Jingchun said again, "Inhale qi and store it in the Dantian, and refine qi into the spirit. The spirit is the spirit and also the energy." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Master, this knowledge is too profound. I can't understand it. Liang Jingchun said, It's very simple. Practicing martial arts is to cultivate the essence, qi, and spirit, and the physique is secondary. Mastering the rhythm and mystery of breathing, and reaching the same level with your own spirit, you can obtain more powerful strength, which is the internal force in martial arts novels. This time, Charlotte seemed to understand a little more, but his brain was still a mess. Watch. Liang Jingchun walked to a wall. He didn't make any preparations. He just took a breath and suddenly punched the wall. Boom. With a muffled sound, there was a shallow fist mark on the wall. Charlotte was shocked, because what Liang Jingchun punched was not a mud wall, but a load-bearing wall made of concrete. In the beginning, Charlotte used his ability to see through Liang Jingchun's trick of exerting force. He thought he had learned the unique skill of Wing Chun, but now that Liang Jingchun showed it, he found that he was really a frog at the bottom of a well at that time. Master, you are so strong. After being stunned for a long time, Charlotte came to his senses, and his eyes were full of worship. Liang Jingchun said, As long as you are willing to work hard, you can also become so strong. How do I practice? Charlotte was eager to try. Liang Jingchun walked to the desk and casually picked up a piece of xian paper. On it was a densely packed piece of calligraphy. He handed the rice paper to Charlotte. Take a look and remember the content on it. Tell me and I will teach you the basics. Charlotte glanced at it. Master, I will remember it. Liang Jingchun said in surprise, So fast? Charlotte smiled. If you don't believe me, I can recite it for you. He cleared his throat and recited it word by word. Breathe in like a whale sucking in water, breathe out like the wind blowing sand. Charlotte really recited it word by word. Liang Jingchun looked pleased. You really are a good seedling. Okay, I will teach you the basics now. You don't need to go back tonight. You can go to Xiao later and let her practice with you. She can guide you. Charlotte nodded, I won't go back. Xia Shui went to Jingdu to study, and there was no one at home. It didn't matter if Charlotte went back or not. Liang Jingchun taught Charlotte the unique skills of Wing Chun in the study. These were the secrets of Yan Wing Chun's family that had been passed down from generation to generation. It had a history of hundreds of years, and it also gathered the efforts of 10 generations. Now, Charlotte became the 11th generation heir. An hour later, Charlotte left Liang Jingchun's study and found Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao was preparing the guest room for Charlotte. Charlotte saw the women's pajamas on the bed and the women's slippers under the bed. He was speechless. Xiao, this is. Liang Xiao, on the other hand, was very generous. It's mine. Yours? Charlotte couldn't believe that he was sleeping in Liang Xiao's pajamas on the bed. Liang Xiao said with a smile, My dad never wears pajamas, and there are no extra slippers. You can just wear it for one night. If I don't say it and you don't say it, no one will know. Charlotte nodded with a bitter smile. She didn't mind as a woman. If he, a man, acted coy, it would be inappropriate. At worst, he wouldn't wear pajamas. It didn't matter if he just wore slippers. Is my dad very strict? Liang Xiao said. Charlotte said, No, master is very kind and careful. Liang Xiao suddenly frowned. He is biased. When he taught me before, he beat me a lot. He was fiercer than a tiger. Charlotte said with a smile, That's because master loves you. By the way, master asked me to ask you for advice. Do you have time? Okay, I will practice with you. If there is anything you don't understand, you can ask me. Liang Xiao readily agreed. The two of them practiced in the guest room. Charlotte took a horse stance, inhaled and clenched his fists, exhaled and punched out. With the rhythm of his breathing, he felt that his fists were stronger than before. The strength and hardness were the same. Liang Xiao pointed at the side and corrected the wrong places. There is something wrong here. You are exhaling too fast. Liang Xiao stood beside Charlotte, holding his forearm with one hand and pressing his belly button with the other. Do it again. Her hand was soft and warm. In addition, the place she pressed was close to the sensitive area. Charlotte's nerves suddenly tightened. Liang Xiao didn't notice the change in Charlotte. Her small hand gently pressed on Charlotte's lower abdomen and urged, "Inhale, inhale, what are you doing?" Charlotte quickly inhaled and then exhaled and punched. But his mind was full of Liang Xiao's beautiful face, proud peaks, and the curve of her buttocks. He nervously closed his eyes, afraid that his left eye would do something wrong. Liang Xiao went around to his front and gently pressed his lower abdomen with her other hand. Do it again. Charlotte's reaction couldn't help but become slow, and his movements were stiff. As if sensing something, Liang Xiao's gaze suddenly fell a little lower. Her face suddenly turned red, and then she went around to Charlotte's back. She pretended to be calm and said, "Well, just do it again like what you did just now." Charlotte was very embarrassed, but he couldn't help it. Who asked her to touch his lower abdomen? A man and a woman, both of them were single. It was inevitable that some embarrassing things would happen when the two of them practiced martial arts in the same room. However, Liang Xiao was very patient. Sometimes it was obviously embarrassing, but she could still overcome it and carefully guide Charlotte. He practiced until very late at night. "Okay, let's stop here for today. We'll practice tomorrow." Liang Xiao was also tired and sweaty. The thin t-shirt stuck to her skin. The size of her chest was even more majestic and the curve of her legs was even more slender. Good night. Charlotte didn't dare to look at her body. After Liang Xiao left, Charlotte grabbed the pajamas that Liang Xiao put on his bed. A faint fragrance assailed his nose. That was Liang Xiao's body fragrance. He smelled it on her body just now. It was the same smell. Next time I can't practice with her like this. She may be fine, but I feel uncomfortable. Charlotte glanced at his pants with some depression. Chapter 89. The next morning, after breakfast, Charlotte and Liang Xiao went to Area 13. In the car, Liang Xiao called the people she recruited from the Polytechnic Institute. Charlotte said, "Xiao, our factory hasn't been built yet. Why did you call them here?" Liang Xiao said, "They are your employees. Of course you have to see them. Also, we need a design plan to build the factory, right? If we find a design company to do it, it will cost us a lot of money. They are idle, so we can save a lot of money by asking them to make a design plan." Charlotte said with a smile, "They majored in science and technology, not architecture. Can they design a factory?" Liang Xiao said, "Of course not, but we don't have high requirements. According to the nature of our company, I think we only need a workshop, dormitory, canteen, and office building. These are all simple buildings. I think they can do it." Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "Actually, I have an idea in my mind. That is, we don't build a brick and concrete structure. That will take too long. We will use new building materials to build the office building and dormitory, and use steel and iron to build the workshop. In this way, the construction period will not exceed a month." Liang Xiao said with a smile, "So you have a plan. You and I have the same idea. Then let's implement it and build the factory as soon as possible." The two chatted and arrived at Area 13 before they knew it. Before Charlotte got out of the car, he saw more than a dozen young people, men and women, surrounding the open space. There were also several electric cars parked next to them. It seemed that they had come by electric scooters. In the city, electric scooters often arrived before cars. "Are they the people you recruited from the Polytechnic Institute?" Charlotte asked. Liang Xiao said, "Yes, they are all graduates of this year's Polytechnic Institute. They are all classmates. It must be very lively for them to work together. Let's go and have a look." Charlotte got out of the car and walked to the group of young people with Liang Xiao. Someone saw Charlotte and Liang Xiao and said, "Sister Liang is here." The group of youths stopped chatting and came forward. One by one, they greeted Liang Xiao warmly. Some people wanted to greet Charlotte, but they gave up because they didn't know him. Many people were also quietly sizing up Charlotte, trying to guess his identity. Liang Xiao said, "Friends, let me introduce you. The one standing next to me is the CEO of Lima Manufacturing Company, Charlotte, President Xia. Our CEO Xia is currently the best mechanic and welding engineer in the country. He can use ordinary machine tools to produce ultra-precision parts that need to be imported from Europe and America. This is something that no one in our country can compete with." The group of young men immediately became excited, calling out Director Xia non-stop. They didn't hide their admiration for Charlotte. It was as if they had seen a star. "Wow, our CEO Xia is so young and handsome," a girl whispered to her companions. "He can produce ultra-precision parts by hand. F***ck, he's really awesome. It would be great if I could be as good as CEO Xia," a man said. Charlotte didn't seem to be moved by these words. He smiled and greeted the group of young men, shaking hands with them one by one. In fact, Charlotte knew very well that one of the reasons why these people were willing to join the unbuilt Lima Manufacturing Company was because of their admiration for his ability. Another reason was probably Liang Xiao's beauty. Many men were willing to work in a certain company just because they could see their goddess in that company. "When will we officially start work, President Xia?" A gentle girl with glasses stood in front of Charlotte. She looked a little nervous, and her white face was slightly flushed. Charlotte said, "In a month, at most a month. This time, I gathered you here because I want you to participate in the construction of the factory. I want you to design a blueprint for the factory. Can you design it?" "We are." The gentle girl with glasses seemed to want to say to Charlotte, "We are studying science and technology," but she didn't say it in the end. The others also closed their mouths and didn't dare to speak. Charlotte said with a smile, "I know what your major is, but designing machinery is not much different from construction. We are a factory that manufactures machinery and processes parts. We don't need complicated designs like chemical companies. We only need a simple workshop, dormitory, office building, and cafeteria. I plan to use new building materials and steel frames. I believe you can do it." Liang Xiao also interrupted and said, "In the future, you will also work in the office building and live in the dormitory. Don't you want to design your own office and dormitory?" "I'll try." The gentle girl with glasses mustered up her courage and said, "I'm in too." Another voice echoed. Charlotte looked at the gentle girl with glasses and said kindly, "What's your name?" "My name is Guan Lingshan," the girl with glasses said. For some reason, she was always very shy. Charlotte said, "Then I'll leave this matter to you." "Me?" Guan Lingshan slightly opened her small mouth, as if she couldn't believe it. Charlotte said, "Yes, it's you. Are you confident that you can do it?" Guan Lingshan nodded heavily and said, "Yes, Mr. Xia. I will definitely do it well." Charlotte looked at another boy with a smile and said, "What's your name? What are you good at?" The boy was very lively. He said with a smile, "Mr. Xia, my name is Yin Hao. I'm good at electrical design." Charlotte said, "Good. The company will use your specialty in the future. You will have a stage to show your talent." Yin Hao nodded and said, "Thank you, Mr. Xia." There were more than 10 people. Charlotte asked their names and specialties one by one. His attitude was friendly, and his words were very easygoing. He didn't have the airs of a boss at all. After chatting with the last young man named Han Bo, Charlotte said, "I believe you have seen that I am about the same age as you. We are a very young team, and our company is also a new one. Believe me and believe in yourselves. We will definitely do something great in this land." The young men all had smiles on their faces, and their eyes were full of expectation and longing. Indeed, the average age of the founding team of Lima Manufacturing Company in front of them was probably less than 24 years old. This was a very young team, full of youthful vigor and vitality, as well as the passion and strength of young people. No one could predict what kind of business Charlotte would lead this young team to, but it made people full of expectations. Mr. Xia, I'm going to find measuring tools to measure our land now, and then I'll start drawing. I'll give you the drawing in 3 days. Guan Lingshan was a little impatient. Okay, call me if you need anything, said Charlotte. We'll help too, said Yinhao. Charlotte said, Go, go. The young men left on the electric scooters. They were all fresh graduates who had just graduated from school and were full of longing for the future. Charlotte gave them a lot of space to fantasize and show their creativity, which was enough for them. They didn't care that Charlotte was driving a domestic car worth more than 100,000 yuan, nor did they care that they only had 500 yuan a month for living expenses. Only young people like them, who had just graduated and had not yet entered the society, would think like this. If they had been old foxes who had been in the workplace for many years, they would definitely have disdained a small company like Lima Manufacturing Company. Even if they wanted to join, they would definitely make a lot of requests. Watching the young men ride away on the electric scooters, Charlotte sighed and said, They're so nice. Liang Xiao said, I deliberately didn't go to the agency to recruit the talents we need. Those people only think about how much they can earn, and they don't think about the company. Although these fresh graduates have no experience, who is born with experience? Giving them a chance is also giving ourselves a chance. Charlotte smiled and said, That's very good of you. Thank you for everything you've done. Is a thank you enough? Liang Xiao showed a playful look and said, Don't you have to show something practical? Charlotte said tentatively, What do you want? Let's go to the building materials company to place an order first, and then you can invite me to your house and cook a delicious meal for me, okay? Said Liang Xiao. She really wanted to go to Charlotte's house to have a look, but last time it was ruined because of Jiang Rui. This time, she wanted Charlotte to invite her personally. Charlotte smiled and said, It's nothing. Okay, it's settled. Let's go to the building materials company first. And then we'll go to the supermarket to buy groceries. I want to eat your sweet and sour pork ribs, honeycomb corn, eggplant with garlic sauce, and seafood. Liang Xiao had already begun to order. Charlotte smiled bitterly and said, You eat so much, aren't you afraid of getting fat? Liang Xiao shrugged and said, Who told you to cook so well? Okay, I'll make whatever you want to eat. Are you satisfied now? Charlotte turned and walked to the side of the road. Liang Xiao suddenly slapped Charlotte's neck. With a gust of wind at the back of his head, Charlotte leaped forward, just in time to avoid Liang Xiao's sneak attack. Liang Xiao chased a step forward, and her jade-white legs under her short skirt whistled as she kicked Charlotte's crotch. Charlotte's knees suddenly pulled in, and with a clamp in the middle, he immediately clamped Liang Xiao's beautiful legs. Liang Xiao tried to twitch, but did not twitch. White calves, white thighs, and the black lace underneath the office lady's short skirt, this posture was as seductive as it could get. A man clamping his legs, a woman kicking her legs, this scene suddenly became a strange and seductive scenery. Charlotte's line of sight was very normal, but after inadvertently peeking at the black lace underneath, it became abnormal. His left eye uncontrollably twitched, a beautiful and mature scenery suddenly entered his eyes, and his whole body suddenly became stunned. Not good. Hey! Liang Xiao shouted and punched Charlotte's chest. Charlotte's chest burst out with a muffled sound, and then he was beaten back a few steps. A severe shock and pain hit him, and he coughed uncomfortably. Liang Xiao followed him to help him, and at the same time she said with concern, Are you okay? You could have dodged it, why didn't you? Charlotte somewhat nervously said, That? You were too fast. After a pause, he then diverted Liang Xiao's attention. I say, senior apprentice sister, can you not sneak attack me like this in the future? Liang Xiao very stubbornly shook her head. That won't do. The time you have to learn martial arts is already very short. If I don't supervise you and train you, when can you defeat my father and me? Why do I have to defeat you and master? Because this is your mission. Charlotte. Chapter 90. Charlotte and Liang Xiao finally chose a new building material company called Forrester. This company was also a newly established company, but it was very large in scale and had a wide range of products. In this company, Charlotte could buy all the new building materials needed for the workshop and office in one go. When Charlotte and Liang Xiao arrived at the Forrester company, they were received by a salesperson from the sales department. However, upon hearing Charlotte's intention of ordering a company's new building materials, the salesperson immediately called over the Forrester company's CEO. Hello, I'm Shin Tu Shirshan. You can tell me if you need anything. The moment they met, the Forrester company's CEO introduced himself with a smile. Shin Tu. Charlotte had an abnormal reaction from Shin Tu Shirshan's self-introduction. Excuse me, are you from the Shin Tu family? Shin Tu Shirshan looked at Charlotte and probed. Why, does Mr. Xia know of our Shin Tu family? Charlotte smiled. In the land of Haizhu, who doesn't know of your Shin Tu family? I just never expected that this company belongs to your Shin Tu family. Shin Tu Shirshan said, This company is a branch of the Wanxiang Corporation. After a pause, he said, Let's not talk about matters that have nothing to do with business. Let's get down to business. We can provide a full range of services for your company, from the blueprints to the construction. You just need to pay the fees that you are supposed to bear. Charlotte said, We can do the blueprints ourselves. You just need to be responsible for the materials and construction. Shin Tu Shirshan said, That's fine too. I'll bring you to see our products first. After you choose a product that you like, I'll give you a quote. Alright, please lead the way. Charlotte said. As they walked out of the reception room, Liang Xiao tugged at Charlotte's sleeve and whispered, Is the Shin Tu family very powerful? Charlotte lowered his voice and said to her, The richest family in China is the Shin Tu family. Don't you think they're powerful? Liang Xiao opened her cherry lips in an exaggerated manner. They're really powerful. If you know someone from the Shin Tu family, you must tell us. It's good to get a discount. Charlotte was slightly stunned as he thought of Shin Tu Tianyin. Not only did he know Shin Tu Tianyin, he had even saved Shin Tu Tianyin's life. If he said it, Shin Tu Shirshan would probably call him and ask him, and Shin Tu Tianyin would probably give him a discount. But just as this thought popped up in his mind, he somehow changed his mind. He's a noble, and I'm just a nobody. I know him, but he doesn't know me. Liang Xiao smiled and said, I don't care about the nobility. Shin Tu Shirshan took Charlotte and Liang Xiao to the Forrester Company's product exhibition center, which not only had a variety of new building materials produced by the Forrester Company, but also building models, buildings, warehouses, and so on built with new building materials. Charlotte and Liang Xiao strolled around the product exhibition center and chose some new building materials. Just as Charlotte was preparing to discuss the price with Shin Tu Shirshan, a Forrester Company employee suddenly ran over and said with an excited expression, Chief Shan, eldest miss is here. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Could it be Shin Tu Tianyin? Shin Tu Shirshan then said, I'm sorry, I have to go for a while. You guys take a look first, then we'll discuss the price later. Charlotte said, Okay, no problem. Shin Tu Shirshan followed the employee out of the product exhibition center, but before the two of them could walk out of the product exhibition center, a group of people walked in from the main entrance. Walking right in front was the current leader of the Shin Tu family clan, Shin Tu Tianyin. Behind her were her bodyguards and assistant. Shin Tu Tianyin was dressed in a long black dress, and she looked cold and beautiful. She did not like to wear revealing clothes, so the clothes she wore always covered most of her body. However, this did not affect her sexiness. A woman like her did not need to show her body to win a man's favor, nor did she need to use a sweet smile to move anyone. Hence, she was always cold, giving people a feeling of being 1,000 miles away. However, it was this kind of her that could make most men willingly submit to her with just a glance. She did not need to show anything, nor did she need to do anything. Her sexiness and her beauty had already conquered all the men. This was Shintu Tianyin. Every time Charlotte saw her, he could not help but feel amazed. "Is she Shintu Tianyin?" Liang Xiao asked softly. Charlotte said, "Yes, she is Shintu Tianyin." Liang Xiao gently praised, "She's so beautiful." Liang Xiao had never seen Shintu Tianyin before, but she could guess that it was her the first time she saw her. However, this was not because Liang Xiao had a strong analytical ability, but because Shintu Tianyin's aura was too strong. She could easily tell that she was different from others. Shintu Shirshan went forward with a fawning smile. "Tianyin, why didn't you inform me in advance that you were coming? If you had informed me in advance, I could have made some arrangement." However, Shintu Tianyin only glanced at Shintu Shirshan lightly. Without saying a word to Shintu Shirshan, she circled around Shintu Shirshan and walked towards Charlotte and Liang Xiao. Shintu Shirshan immediately froze in place. His face was filled with embarrassment and anger. This scene was also seen by Charlotte. He also found it strange as he thought to himself, Shintu Shirshan is also a member of the Shintu family clan, but Shintu Tianyin has such an attitude. It looks like she's not even a stranger. How strange. Shintu Tianyin ignored Shintu Shirshan, but Shintu Shirshan still bit the bullet and chased after him. He maintained a fawning smile. "Tianyin, you are here for a routine inspection, right? I'll immediately get the finance department to prepare the account. If you want to go to the workshop, I'll bring you there." "No need." Shintu Tianyin finally spoke to Shintu Shirshan, but it was only 2 simple words. Shintu Shirshan gave Charlotte a look, indicating for Charlotte to leave. He did not know that Charlotte and Shintu Tianyin actually knew each other. Charlotte did not have any intention of greeting Shintu Tianyin. He said to Liang Xiao, "Xiao, let's go out for a while." Liang Xiao nodded and followed Charlotte to the door. Just as they were about to pass each other, Shintu Tianyin suddenly said, "Mr. Xia, why are you here?" Charlotte was stunned for a moment, and his footsteps couldn't help but stop. This was the first time Shintu Tianyin had taken the initiative to greet him. Back then, even when he told her that there was a bomb under her car, she didn't even look at him directly. Shintu Tianyin looked at Charlotte, as if waiting for him to speak. Only then did Charlotte say, "I'm here to buy some construction materials. Are you ready to build a factory?" Shintu Tianyin said. Why was she so talkative today? Charlotte was very curious in his heart, but he appeared very calm on the surface. "Yes, the land has already been approved. I want to build the factory as soon as possible." Shintu Tianyin said, "I've heard about that land. You slapped Huang Yihu in the face, which is equivalent to slapping the Gu family in the face. Well done." This seemed to be the reason why she was so talkative today. On the surface, the Shintu family clan and the Gu family were harmonious, but in the business world, they viewed each other as the strongest competitors. Over the years, they had been fighting openly and covertly, so there was already a deep grudge between them. Someone had thrown a stone at the Gu family's watchdog. Although it was the dog that was hit, the dog's owner was also disgraced. She was happy to see such a thing happen. Charlotte did not say anything, but he politely smiled. Liang Xiao interrupted and said, "Miss Shintu, hello. I'm Director Xia's assistant. Then, can you give us a discount?" Shintu Tianyin only glanced at Liang Xiao lightly. "Our price is already the lowest in the market. Even if I were to buy it myself, there would be no discount." Liang Xiao's face originally had a smile on it, but Shintu Tianin's words made her feel terrible. The smile on her face also disappeared. Shintu Tianin did not say another word and walked away. Liang Xiao grunted lightly and said unhappily, "What's so great about that? Is being rich that great?" Charlotte patted her on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't be angry. In the future, you will be richer than her." The anger in Liang Xiao's heart dissipated as quickly as it came. "Okay, then give me an annual salary of 5 or 6 billion. In that case, I'll probably be richer than her in a few to 10 years. Then sell me," Charlotte said. "All right, who should I sell to? How about the circus?" Liang Xiao giggled and said, "I'll tie a rope around your neck, and then you will perform a monkey show to earn money for me, all right? You dare call me a monkey? See how I'll deal with you." Charlotte chased after her and hit her. The two of them laughed and walked out. They had already forgotten what had happened just now. However, just as the two of them were about to walk out of the door, Shintu Tianin stopped and looked back at Charlotte's back. Then he said, "Fifth uncle, give this Mr. Xia a cost price." Shintu Shan said in surprise, "Tianin, didn't you just say that there was no discount? Why are you giving him a discount again?" Shintu Tianin said, "Let the finance prepare the accounts. I'll go to the workshop to take a look." Shintu Shan was stunned for a moment and then said, "All right, little Wang, go and let the finance prepare the accounts immediately. I'll take Tianin to the workshop to take a look." However, he secretly said in his heart, "It seems that Tianin and that Xia kid know each other, but why didn't he give the Xia kid a discount in person? Giving the cost price and not letting the other party know. What is this called?" Shintu Tianin said again, "Fifth uncle, you go and talk to Mr. Xia. I'll go to the workshop myself." "This. All right, I'll go now." Shintu Shan turned around and walked towards the door. Charlotte and Liang Xiao stood in the product exhibition center for less than 2 minutes before Shintu Shan walked out. "Mr. Xia, Miss Liang, come with me to my office. Let's continue talking." Shintu Shan's attitude was clearly much better than before. Charlotte said, "Aren't you going to accompany Miss Tianin? She doesn't need me to accompany her." Shintu Shan led the way and probed, "By the way, Mr. Xia, how do you know our Tianin?" For a moment, Charlotte wanted to tell Shintu Shan about what had happened at Dongfang Heavy Industry, but he suppressed this thought in the blink of an eye. He said, "We don't know each other. We only met once." "So that's how it is," Shintu Shan said, but he didn't believe Charlotte's words at all. Arriving at Shintu Shan's office, Charlotte handed a list to Shintu Shan. Shintu Shan tapped the calculator and casually said, "The material cost is 7 million, and the construction fee is 20% of the material cost. The total is 4 million. That much?" Charlotte was shocked. Shintu Shan's face revealed a strange smile. "But you guys are lucky. Today is our company's 2nd anniversary. According to convention, you will receive a 40% discount." He tapped the calculator a few more times and then said, "A total of 5.04 million. This number is not good. You can give us an extra 40,000. A total of 5.08 million. What do you think?" Charlotte was still in a daze. He didn't know where his mind had flown to. Liang Xiao's reaction was fast. She followed up and said, "All right, 508. That's a good number. When do we pay?" Shintu Shan said, "We can pay now or pay after the completion. Mr. Xia, how do you want to pay?" Charlotte didn't say anything. At this time, he thought of Shintu Tianin. He wasn't a fool. He knew that it was Shintu Tianin's intention for Shintu Shan to give such a discount. Liang Xiao kicked Charlotte under the table. "Director Xia, when do you want to pay?" Charlotte came back to his senses. "Full payment now." "Okay, I'll have my secretary prepare the contract now." Shintu Shan stood up and extended a hand to Charlotte. happy cooperation. Charlotte also stood up and shook hands with Shinto-Shan, happy cooperation. He secretly said in his heart, I will definitely return this favor to her in the future. Chapter 91. It was already late afternoon when he left the Forrester New Building Materials Company. Charlotte did not see Shinto Tianin's Rolls-Royce Phantom. Presumably, she left when he signed the contract with Shinto-Shan. The car slowly drove into the driveway and headed for the city. Liang Xiao broke the silence. She said with a smile, Today's luck is really good. Charlotte said casually, Yes, it's really good luck. Liang Xiao looked straight at Charlotte. But I think there's something wrong here. Don't you think it's strange? Charlotte knew what she wanted to say, but he didn't want to talk about the story between him and Shinto Tianin. He changed the subject. Don't you want to go to my house for dinner? Sweet and sour ribs, seafood, and so on. Let's go to the supermarket to buy groceries. Oh, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten about it. Hurry up, let's go to the supermarket. I'm hungry. Liang Xiao's mind shifted to the food. In fact, with her intelligence, she had already guessed that there must be something between Shinto Tianin when he took the initiative to talk to Charlotte. But curiosity was curiosity, and she was not the kind of woman who would break the casserole and get to the bottom of it. Charlotte stepped on the accelerator, and the Great Wall H6 sped on the road. While driving, Charlotte was also thinking about things in his heart. After paying $5.08 million to the Forrester Construction Company, plus the $1 million land fees he had previously paid to the Land Bureau, he had only $500,000 in cash and $1 million that had not yet been paid by Shenzhou Industrial Company. Now, every penny had to be used sparingly. However, the financial aspect did not bring him too much pressure, because Mayer who had stated that if there was any difficulty, he could go to him. So once the funds were exhausted and there was no rice to cook, he could go to Mayer who as a guarantee to get a bank loan. If it didn't work, he could also find Shenzhou Industrial Company to advance the payment. In short, after solving the two big problems of land and building a factory, his dream was almost 60% realized. This made him happy. After returning to the city, Charlotte bought a lot of ingredients from a supermarket near the neighborhood. He even specially bought a box of Jiangyu dry red wine. Then, he drove Liang Xiao, the foodie, and a lot of ingredients back to the neighborhood. After parking the car, Charlotte and Liang Xiao each carried a few big bags of ingredients and walked towards the stairwell. Suddenly, a beautiful figure walked out from the stairwell. With her well-ironed uniform and bright smile, Jiang Rui was like a tulip blooming in the green belt of the residential area, beautiful, elegant, and eye-catching. Oh, isn't this Lei Zi from our community? Jiang Rui greeted him with a smile. You bought such delicious food. Is it someone's birthday today? Charlotte said, No one's birthday, I just invited my martial sister to my house for a meal. He then introduced, Xiao, this is Jiang Rui. Rui, this is my martial sister, Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao and Jiang Rui had actually met a long time ago. Liang Xiao had also seen Jiang Rui's ID and knew that she was the police chief. However, she did not have a good impression of Jiang Rui, because that night, Jiang Rui took the drunk Charlotte away from her and rudely asked her to call a taxi back. She would not easily forgive Jiang Rui for this matter. Charlotte introduced them, but Jiang Rui and Liang Xiao did not greet each other, nor did they shake hands. They just looked at each other. Charlotte said a little awkwardly, Do you know each other? Jiang Rui said, No. Liang Xiao said, No. Charlotte could not be bothered anymore. He carried the groceries and walked to the stairwell. I'm going to cook. You guys can chat. Jiang Rui suddenly said, I want to go to your house for dinner too. Charlotte's head hurt a little. He braced himself and said, All right. Help me get the red wine from the trunk. Jiang Rui went to the trunk and took out the box of Jiangyu dry red wine. She even smiled provocatively at Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao suddenly imitated Jiang Rui's tone. "Io, isn't this our lazy? So mushy." Jiang Rui did not feel awkward at all. "Our neighborhood is a big family and we live together. Is it wrong for me to say that our lazy is our lazy? Besides, what does what I say have to do with you?" Liang Xiao said, "I'm her martial sister. I'm worried that she's not careful with her friends." Jiang Rui said, "I grew up with her. If we're talking about not being careful with her friends, it's now that she's being careless with her friends." The two women were at loggerheads with no rhyme or reason at all. At this time, Charlotte poked his head out from the balcony on the second floor. "Can you guys come up and talk? I want to cook. What can I do without food?" Liang Xiao and Jiang Rui then went upstairs. The two women went upstairs and entered Charlotte's house. Soon, they were at loggerheads again. Jiang Rui said, "Lazy, I'll help you. Nowadays, many women don't even know how to wash vegetables. These women are the parasites of society." Liang Xiao glanced at the messy living room and said, "Lazy, your house is so messy. I'll help you tidy it up. Some women talk as if they're good at cooking. In the end, they're just here to eat and drink. These women are the parasites of society, right?" Charlotte's head drooped down powerlessly. Charlotte cooked and Charlotte cooked. The woman who said she would help him lay on the sofa in the living room and watched a variety show in less than 5 minutes. The woman who helped him clean up the room was also sitting on the sofa and watching the same show, laughing from time to time. He suddenly felt that women were not reliable. Men were the most reliable. After working for an hour, Charlotte made a table of good dishes: sweet and sour pork ribs, spicy eggplant with garlic sauce, hot prawns, steamed scallops, and so on. The table was full of dishes. Every dish was delicious. Just looking at them made people feel that they were delicious. Charlotte was forced to cook. His mother passed away early and his father disappeared mysteriously. He had to take care of his sister's food and drink. However, it was only after his left eye had mutated that his culinary skills improved. When cooking, his left eye could observe the slightest changes in the ingredients, so he could always stir-fry the ingredients to their most delicious state. His left eye gave him a unique way to add seasonings. The amount was always just right. Other chefs could only add seasonings based on experience. They couldn't reach his level of perfection. Looking at the table full of delicacies, Xiao Lei smiled in relief. He thought to himself, "If I have time, I should read some books about food. With my current ability, even if I change my profession to become a chef, I should be able to learn to the best level, right?" Before Charlotte said anything, Jiang Rui and Liang Xiao were attracted by the aroma of the food. "Wow, it's so rich." Jiang Rui couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Liang Xiao's eyes were also shining. She looked very happy. "I didn't expect you to cook so well. It seems that I'll have to visit your house often in the future." Jiang Rui muttered, "You're so thick-skinned." Charlotte opened a bottle of red wine, but he remembered that he didn't buy goblets. He had to pour 3 bowls. One for Jiang Rui, one for Liang Xiao, and one for himself. He said awkwardly, "I forgot to buy goblets. Let's drink with bowls." Liang Xiao said with a smile, "What's wrong with drinking with bowls? It's more enjoyable to drink with bowls." Jiang Rui couldn't wait to put a hot prawn in her mouth. After wolfing it down, she gave Charlotte a thumbs up. "Delicious, delicious. It's even better than what I ate at the seafood restaurant. Make me another portion later. I'll bring it home to eat." Charlotte, the delicious food made the two women's mouths shut. Watching them enjoy the food he cooked with relish, Charlotte felt that he should learn cooking skills. The dishes he could cook now were the dishes he knew how to cook before. He had never studied cooking skills at all. It was foreseeable that with his current ability, if he focused on studying culinary arts, no one could say for sure how high his level in this aspect would be if he focused on it. After all, no chef in the world could see the internal changes of the ingredients when cooking, nor could they see the integration of the ingredients and seasonings. However, he could do these two things. After dinner, Jiang Rui and Liang Xiao went to watch TV with satisfaction. No one even cleaned up the dishes. Charlotte shook his head with a wry smile. He cleaned up the dishes and went to the kitchen. Just after washing the dishes, Charlotte's cell phone suddenly rang. He took out his cell phone and glanced at it. It was Qin Xiang's number. Why is she calling me at this time? Charlotte felt a little strange, but he still slid the answer button. Lazy, something happened. Qin Xiang's voice was very anxious and a little panicked. Charlotte's heart suddenly sank. Don't panic. Tell me what happened. My shop was burned. Qin Xiang's voice was filled with pain. I'm guessing that Huang Yihu must know that I'm in contact with you. He's starting to take revenge on me now. If he gives my information to the police, I'm finished. Where are you now? Where else can I be? Qin Xiang smiled bitterly. I am outside my hair salon watching it burn. Don't worry. I will come right away. We will talk when we meet. Charlotte said. Okay, I will wait for you. Qin Xiang hung up the phone. Charlotte followed her out of the kitchen. I have a friend who is in a little trouble. I have to go and see. What trouble? Do you need me to go with you? Liang Xiao said. Jiang Rui also said, Do you need my help? Charlotte said, No, it's just a small matter. You guys do as you please. I will go first. Without saying much, Charlotte rushed out of the door. Qin Xiang's hair salon was burned. This matter was most likely done by Huang Yihu. In the beginning, if he hadn't found Qin Xiang and asked Qin Xiang to deal with Huang Yihu with him, Qin Xiang's hair salon wouldn't have been destroyed. Because of this reason, Charlotte's heart was more or less guilty. Even if there was no such thing, if Qin Xiang was in trouble, he would not hesitate to stand up for her, because he was never the kind of person who would burn the bridge after crossing it. Jiang Rui and Liang Xiao stood on the balcony on the second floor and watched Charlotte drive the Great Wall H6 out of the gate of the community. Then the two women looked at each other. What made him so anxious? Jiang Rui's voice. I don't know, but you don't have to worry. My dad's last disciple is very powerful. Liang Xiao said. Humph, do you really think of yourself as a martial arts heroine? Am I talking to you? Chapter 92. By the time Charlotte arrived, the fire brigade had already put out the fire. Thick smoke billowed out of the broken window. People who liked to watch the fun stopped to watch from afar and talked about it. Charlotte found Qin Xiang at the edge of the crowd. His face was extremely pale. Charlotte also saw tears at the corner of his eyes. He had obviously been crying. Charlotte walked to Qin Xiang's side and gently patted Qin Xiang's shoulder. He comforted her and said, Don't be sad. How about you stop cutting hair in the future and work for me? Qin Xiang looked back at Charlotte and was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, she threw herself into Charlotte's arms and sobbed. A man was in his arms, and this man was crying in his arms. Charlotte felt extremely strange. However, he didn't push Qin Xiang away because he knew that what Qin Xiang needed most at this time was comfort. After crying for a while, Qin Xiang raised her head from Charlotte's shoulder and looked at Charlotte with tears in her eyes. I want to kill him. I must kill him this time. This hair salon was everything to me, but he destroyed it. Don't be impulsive. If you are impulsive, then you'll be fooled by Huang Yihu. Charlotte's heart was also filled with anger, but he knew very well that at times like this, he needed to be calm. Ring ring ring, ring ring ring, a series of cell phone ringtones suddenly rang. Charlotte took out his cell phone and glanced at it. It was an unfamiliar number. He hesitated for a moment and slid the answer button. A woman's voice came from the phone. Boss, Xia. Several of my classmates were beaten by them, sob sob. This was Guan Lingshan's voice. Charlotte quickly recognized it. His heart suddenly sank and he said anxiously, "Is it Lingshan? Calm down and tell me slowly. What happened?" Guan Lingshan's voice came from the phone again. "My classmates and I, we stayed up late at the construction site to measure and draw drawings. A group of people suddenly rushed over and smashed our measuring equipment. Boo-hoo! They even injured a few of our classmates. Those people threatened us. They said that if we work with you, they would kill us." Boo-hoo! Charlotte's anger flared up. "Where are they now?" "They smashed the equipment, beat up people, and then left." Charlotte gritted his teeth. "Where are you now?" We are in the hospital. We don't have that much money. The hospital won't treat us." Guan Lingshan cried as she spoke. Charlotte suppressed the anger in his heart and comforted her. "Lingshan, don't cry and don't be afraid. Tell me which hospital you're in and I'll come over right away to pay." Guan Lingshan sobbed. We're at the People's Hospital. Wait for me, I'll be right there." Charlotte hung up the phone. Just now, he was so angry that he almost crushed the phone. First, Qin Xiang's hair salon was burned, and then the workers were beaten. This was obviously Huang Yihu's revenge for the loss of the land. "Huang Yihu sent people to beat up your workers?" Qin Xiang looked surprised. Charlotte said, "Yes, I'm going to the construction site now. You stay here and we'll talk tomorrow." However, Qin Xiang said, "No, I'll go with you. The salon has been destroyed. It's useless for me to stay." Charlotte didn't think much and said, "Well, let's go to the construction site." The Great Wall H6 ran on the road like an enraged beast. "What are you going to do?" Qin Xiang broke the silence in the car and looked at Charlotte with some worry. Charlotte's eyes were cold. "If he bites me, I'll stab him." "You're going to kill him?" Qin Xiang's eyes were even more worried. Just now, he wanted to kill Huang Yihu, but now he knew that it was definitely not a good idea. Charlotte sneered. "That's too easy for him. I want him to lose everything and live a life worse than death." Qin Xiang was a little confused. "Do you already have a way to deal with him?" Charlotte nodded. "Let's go to the hospital to see our classmates first, and then we'll talk. Look for an ATM machine on the side of the road. Tell me when you see it. I need to withdraw some money." Qin Xiang was about to nod when he saw an ICBC automated service hall. He raised his hand and pointed. "There's one there." 20 minutes later, Charlotte arrived at the People's Hospital with Qin Xiang. After entering the hospital, Charlotte saw Guan Lingshan, Yi Hao, Han Bo, and others in the corridor of the emergency room. Some of them were standing in the corridor, and some were sitting on the waiting chairs outside the doctor's clinic. Some of them had injuries on their heads, and there were bloodstains on their faces. Some had torn clothes and lost a shoe, and some had bruises on their bodies. Their youthful and lively aura could no longer be found on them. They were like a group of beggars waiting for relief, destitute and dejected, "Boss Xia is here. Boss Xia is here." Han Bo, whose face was swollen, shouted. A large group of classmates rushed over, their eyes filled with gratitude and anticipation. Guan Lingshan stood in front of Charlotte. She had also been beaten. Her glasses were broken, and there was no glass on one side. Although there was glass on the other side, there were a few cracks. Guan Lingshan cried when she saw Charlotte. "Boss Xia, we don't have money. The hospital, come with me." Charlotte grabbed Guan Lingshan's hand and strode to the doctor's clinic. Because it was night time, there was only one doctor in the clinic. The doctor on duty was a male doctor in his 30s. He was sitting there playing with his phone. When Charlotte pulled Guan Lingshan in, he didn't even look at her. He said coldly, "Didn't I tell you? The hospital is not a charity. We don't have money. How can we treat you without money?" As soon as he finished speaking, a plastic bag was smashed on the desk. A stack of bills rolled out of the plastic bag. It was brand new, and it glowed temptingly under the light. The doctor on duty looked up in surprise. Only then did he see the angry Charlotte standing in front of him. They didn't bring money, so you don't care about their lives? Charlotte said angrily. How did you learn to be a doctor? Didn't your teacher teach you that human lives are important? The doctor on duty stood up. This is the hospital's rule. How can we treat them without money? Why are you yelling at me? If you have the ability, go and find the director. If you make any more noise, I'll get the security to kick you out and find the hospital that treats you without money. Charlotte suddenly punched the doctor's desk. This punch was so strong that the whole desk jumped. When Charlotte moved his fist away, there was a hole on the desk. The doctor's face turned pale with fright. Charlotte pointed at the doctor's nose. His eyes were cold. You better be smart or you'll be this desk. The doctor nodded timidly. He had never seen a person who could punch a desk. Moreover, at this moment, Charlotte didn't look like a good person. He looked like a gangster who didn't care about his life. Such a person, how could a little doctor dare to provoke him? Hurry up and treat them, Charlotte roared. Right away. But you take the money to the cashier. I won't collect money. I'm treating the patient. Who's first? The doctor didn't even wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He immediately entered the working state. This was the way of the world. Those with soft fists were afraid of those with hard fists. Those with lives were afraid of those who didn't care about their lives. The doctor began to treat the patient. He didn't even wait for Charlotte's payment receipt. Charlotte paid the advance payment at the cashier's office. Then, he took out 50,000 yuan and gave it to Guan Lingshan. Guan Lingshan looked at Charlotte in surprise. President Xia, what are you doing? Why are you giving me money? Charlotte said, take this money. Tomorrow, buy clothes and nutrition for your classmates. You also need to change a pair of glasses. The rest, you distribute according to the number of people. How can this be? Guan Lingshan wanted to return the money to Charlotte. Charlotte pressed her hand. This money is given to you by the company. You can rest assured and take it. Also, I won't let you be beaten up. Go. I will seek justice for you. Guan Lingshan held the thick stack of money and was moved to tears. The classmates standing next to Guan Lingshan were also very moved. It was really a good thing to be able to follow such a loyal boss. President Xia, those people are gangsters. You don't have to fight with them. Yin Hao said, we were just beaten up. It's okay. We'll be fine in 2 days. Han Bo also said, yes, President Xia, you are the boss of our company. You don't have to care about those gangsters. Charlotte said, don't worry. I have my own way of dealing with it. By the way, did you call the police? Guan Lingshan said, yes. Before you came, the police came to the construction site and said that they were chasing after those gangsters. They didn't show up again after that. A group of students who had just graduated from school were beaten up by gangsters on the street. No one was killed. It was hard to guess how much attention the police would pay to this kind of thing. Guan Lingshan said again, I wanted to call Miss Liang, but I thought that she was a woman and it would be better not to tell her about it, so I called you. Charlotte said, you handled it very well. You can rest tomorrow. You don't have to go to the construction site anymore. No, we're going to the construction site, Han Bo said. Han Bo said, we've already measured the land and the sketch is out. We'll be able to complete the design in 2 days. How can we not go? Yes, we're going. We're not afraid of them, someone said. Charlotte was moved. Well, since you insist on going to the construction site, I'll ask Miss Liang to take care of you. Miss Liang? If those gangsters come again. Han Bo looked very worried. Charlotte said, you don't have to worry about that. If she guards the construction site, those gangsters are no match for her at all. The students looked surprised. They didn't know Yang Xiao's other identity at all. She was a Wing Chun master. It was already 2 hours later when they left the hospital. It was late at night and the streets were deserted. There were no pedestrians or vehicles. What should we do now? Qin Xiang asked. Charlotte said, Make trouble for Huang Yihu. Do you really want to go to the fishing villa? Qin Xiang said, Maybe he has already set up a trap there and is waiting for us to jump in. Charlotte shook his head. I didn't say to go to the fishing villa. I said to go to his company. To his company? Qin Xiang was stunned for a moment. Charlotte said, Let's go. Now is the time for you to show your strength. Qin Xiang seemed to have guessed Charlotte's purpose. He shrugged and said with a wry smile, Well, I'll take it as a compliment. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.